Lifters from session 1, we need you out in the warm-up room as soon as possible. Lifters from session 1, we need you out in the warm-up room. We've got session 2 started and it's space. Session 2 starting. This is the challenges bracket. Take 1, you're at Team Champs. 2 minutes until lifting commences. First, we appreciate your patience.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Team Champs at the Fort 2025. My name is Daniel Featherson, otherwise known as Chunky Boy Prime, and to my left is Francis Nguyen. Hello Francis, how are you today?
I'm alright, how are you, Chunks?
Oh man, I am honestly excited. I could not be any more excited to commentate any other comp because honestly, correct me if I'm wrong, I think this is the biggest local comp in probably Australian powerlifting history, not gonna lie.
Yeah, look, no bias, but definitely.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
So today we're in the second session of the Challenges bracket, and we had a phenomenal turnout in the first session, didn't we?
Yeah, it was massive. I mean, I was in the back room helping out Groove, Alex Del Porvis, in terms of coaching. So, yeah, just having a look outside, it's been phenomenal.
It's honestly been amazing. I was watching while I was training at my gym, SR Strength Collective, and honestly the guys just popped off so hard. So now we're in the second session. We've got a few teams coming in competing. Do you know if there's any teams that haven't competed just yet or had anyone in just yet for the Challenger bracket for second session?
Yeah, I think there is quite a few people. Sorry, I'm just popping up.
No, you're right, man. But again, we had a phenomenal turnout for the first session. We had plenty of teams come in, absolutely dominate. So they've set the precedence for today. But Francis just taken a look to see which teams haven't started the comp yet.
I actually think all teams have started.
Yeah, but that's it. That's set the precedent. So right now, everybody is at even playing grounds. Nobody really has any extra data they can collect other than from what's happened in the first session. First up, we have Eleni, 90 kilo squat for VA strength, 90 kilos in the 76 women's raw class.
So we'll see in terms of squats at least, a couple of key things that the referees are looking for. Obviously, depth is going to be the main one.
Beautiful first attempt.
If there's any foot movement, try and think on top of my head.
There's plenty of other things, soft knees, everything like that.
Soft knees, yeah. I think depth's really just that main one that our side referees will be seeing.
And that's the main thing about getting that first attempt. You do not want to have anything too heavy. You need to make sure it's a weight that is achievable on any day of the year, regardless of if you're flu-ridden, regardless of if you're having the best day. You need to make sure that that first attempt is clean.
Yeah, correct. It's first attempt's really just getting off, you know, bit of cobwebs, just making sure that you're on the you're on the board.
Yeah,
I know a lot of people think, oh, maybe we should go heavier in terms of your attempt selection. No, first attempt should just be get on the board. All right, we'll set the momentum from there on out.
I've heard a lot of young lifters, especially starting up, when they're confused on why they can't open up with their either 95 or 99% of their 1RM, but it's very, very telling when you get on the platform for the very first time and all the nerves are there. It's very nerve-wracking. So if you don't get that first attempt, man, it does not build any momentum in the rest of the day.
No, and it rattles a lot of lifters as well. Doesn't matter if you're new or experienced, it rattles a lot of people. And we've got Sam now, 112.5, very experienced lifter from Avia. Nice and easy.
Beautiful opener, awesome opener.
And that's what you want to see, you know. Nice execution. You're waiting for the referee, chief referee, to give that squat command, and then from there, drop down, hit the dead, come back up, wait for the rack call. Some lifters, especially when you're new, you're inexperienced, you're a bit, you've got a bit of nerves to it. They might jump that rack call, and you may see that today. Probably on the lower end, I don't think that will happen much, but you may see it. So yeah, it happens.
For
It
sure.
really does.
Nikita for 120 kilos of opener squat. Absolutely amazing squat, representing Paragon Strength and Performance in the 84 kilo class.
A couple of teams from Sydney coming down this weekend as well. which is
Interstate
really awesome.
teams
Yeah.
coming all around.
And Paragon were here last year as well at Team Champs.
And they did very awesome. That's a good squat. Nice work, Nikita. And speaking of new lifters, we've had quite a few new teams coming in, especially today, haven't we?
Yeah, quite a number of new teams. I mean, you know, Melbourne Uni, of course. You're very much familiar with them having. Oh, you're still a coach there.
I'm still currently coaching there, actually,
so-
but I didn't coach today's team because I have my own team tomorrow, Strength Collective. But the guys did amazing today, Melbourne Uni Lifting Club. It's Jonah's debut as a team coach for Melbourne Uni Lifting Club, and he couldn't have done any better. They also had Anthony Hill as assistant coach, who's currently the strongest 105 in Australia right now, which is awesome to have him in your corner. We now have Rochelle representing Groove Lifting, which, Francis, that's your team, isn't it?
Yeah, so no bias here. First come back since 2022, so she's a veteran, but it's been a while since she's competed. So, to be honest, a bit of nerves here for Bro.
Could you tell me anything that she's been with her mindset or anything coming into this competition? Because you've trained with her a few times at the Groove club.
Yeah. So I think that, you know, it's not been the, I guess, best comp prep.
Yeah.
But you know what? She's here. She's made it on the board. Three white lights.
Yeah, that's making it
and
on
that's
the
all we
board.
need. That's all we need.
That's the momentum that you need to build, honestly. If you do not have that momentum coming into today, it just everything can fall apart, and that's very, very smart of you to start off with that clean, concise lift. And we have Natalia from Compound and
Another interstate team.
Another interstate, which these guys, honestly, I'm not going to lie, they are very scary. They are honestly very, very scary compound training.
They, I would say, you know, one of the teams to look out for in this challenges bracket. Deep team. Very strong lifters coming out of Tassie.
160 kilos for an opener at a 76 kilos is
Smoked that.
insane, and they have more lifters to come. So I think everyone should be terrified. So
They're coming.
yeah, they are definitely coming, and we have, I believe it's Emma and Will Warden who are coaching that today, because Jack Dunn, head coach of Compound, is actually going over to Germany for Worlds because he has a few lifters going to Worlds.
Yeah, so it says a lot. you
Yeah,
know, in
no,
terms of the
exactly,
depth. We've got Shanine now for VA strength.
160 kilos again, so that's 260 kilos, and this is the 84 plus class. Now again, we haven't seen anyone make a poor first attempt choice. Everyone's really made a smart choice, and it really shows from both the athlete standpoint and the coach's standpoint with how many veterans and how many smart coaches we have here making the right selections. Perfectly waiting for that command, and really nice squat. Again, 160 kilos, regardless, is an amazing squat to do. So it's not a feat to really neglect, honestly. Ashley from Paragon in the 84 plus class coming up. 162.5, just chipping a few of the other girls who just completed a 160 kilo squat for their first attempt.
Yeah, so Ash is currently just based off previous totals. She's actually would be in first place, so 5 kilos ahead of Bro.
Yeah.
And for 32.5 kilos, or Bro's 32.5 kilos ahead of Shanine. So that's just based on previous totals, of course. Anything can happen on the day.
Again, previous totals is the best data to utilize for competitions, because that's what they've done most recently. You know, you can make as many assumptions as you possibly can. If you could say, oh, you know, it's been 13 months since the last competition, they could have increased their total by 100 kilos. You don't know. Just utilize that last total that they've completed, and that's why open powerlifting is my favorite source to utilize for competition day. Coming up, we've got M. Kano. What is she opening up with?
M's opening up at 180 kilos.
180 kilos. Again, that's 17.5 kilo above the last opener. That is honestly ridiculous.
So she's got a bit of daylight in terms of her closest competitor, at least in this session, which is Nikita. You know, last year she competed under USAPL, national champion. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if I think she's hit 200 kilos squat
I believe
before,
so, yeah.
So she's probably gunning for that again.
Let's go, Em. And we have quite a few. That is awesome. We have quite a few lifters coming from USAPL last year. And look, there's not too many changes other than the weight class. It could be a big difference for some people. It could be an advantage to others. So it's really telling to see these people changing the weight class, whether it's 2 kilos up, 2 kilos down. It can make a big difference.
Yeah, definitely. It does make a difference. You know, some lifters might adapt to it better. Some might struggle a bit. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that transfers through the course of the weekend.
For sure.
We've got Nick
from Avia.
217.5.
105 is my ops. Oh, beautiful. Nice clean squat by Nick. No wrist wraps like MK. No, that hurts my wrist just looking at it, but you know, each to their own. Next up, we have Liam Cubitt, 247.5 kilos. Liam only competed, when was Megan Nats? That was only very recently.
4 weeks ago.
4 weeks ago. And unfortunate outcome, but I think that this is redemption arc right here, right now. He's a very smart lifter. He's not way too egotistical on his weight selections. He listens to his coach and he just competes. He just gets under the bar and completes the lift. Let's go, Liam.
So he should be, you know, I would say quite a clear favourite for at least this session.
Yeah.
For the challengers bracket against Nick. In terms of the overall weekend, look, it'll come close. It'll come close to, you know, whether Tyson Andrews from Stronghold or Timothy Wang from Sim Strength missed their lifts.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think, you know, he probably has a bit of a chip on his shoulder.
Oh, for
Want to
sure.
make sure to go one better than Megan Nats just a couple of weeks ago. Whether or not that fatigue, comp fatigue, is going to kick in, I think it will be very interesting to see. You know, 4-week turnaround from a massive comp into this. You know, it might depend on some lifters.
It could cook a person, honestly. Yeah. Some people love it. Some people love that pressure. They love competing. They feel like that they can go in back to back. The only thing is with Liam, he is a heavy lifter. He is a 105. He's lifting some heavy weights, and that's where the fatigue comes into. Versus, say, like a 47 kilo female, even though they are lifting heavy weights plus 100, they can recover quite quickly. So 4-week turnaround is nothing for them.
Yeah.
Versus someone like Liam, it could potentially cook him, but we can only tell on these third attempts. We can't really tell right now on the first, because 247.5, he absolutely smoked it. Onto the squat twos, 100 kilos for Alini VA strength. 76 kilo females. We have plenty of 76 kilo monsters in this class, lifting some heavy weights. Ooh, bit of a grind up top, maybe a slight misgroove, but clean on the way up. Rocking that French low bar, again, scares my shoulders, but each to their own. Back to Sam, 122.5 kilos, representing Avia Performance. And Avia's competed at Team Champs quite a few times, I believe.
Yeah.
They competed last year, obviously, but I'm pretty sure they beat in one of the old school Team Champs.
Yeah, I believe so. So it's definitely like, you know, a team that's been around powerlifting, especially in Victoria.
Yeah. Been around for a while.
Yeah, a lot of experience.
And you have Vinay on the platform. Hard up, Sam, hard. Ooh, bit of a grind. Maybe losing that brace from the bottom. But once...
I think took a bit of a step forward in terms of...
Only one red light. That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, it was still a good lift.
Yeah.
The red light was for just beating the rack command.
Yeah.
So you can see she took a slight step forward. Billy noticed it, but you know, given that it's always a bit hard in terms of side referees to see that because they've got you know, spotters around. It happens so quickly.
Yeah.
So that was one red light. However, with powerlifting, it's majority of rules. As long as you get 2 white lights,
it's fine.
That's all you need. So good lift there from Sam.
Good lift from Sam. And
looked a bit sticky though, looked a bit difficult, and I think just, you know, you could tell in terms of the demeanour, like she wasn't happy with it, and just threw the bar as quickly as possible.
And when it does come to those type of lifts where we do miss it on maybe a slight misgroove or didn't go in there with the right fire, that can really either fire up or it can honestly crash a person coming into the third squat. And you might see her absolutely obliterate this next squat, 130. But Nikita right now with the 130 squat on her second squat attempt. Yep. Very clean.
Very nice.
Now that's probably what you want to see on your second attempt because that can project you for a higher third.
And you'll see in terms of like just the attempt selections, I always think it's really interesting to see the jumps that the coaches make.
Yeah.
It's all, you know, it's obviously dependent on the lifter, on the coaches, what jumps they make. Squats, you know, you'll probably see, at least in this session, I reckon a 10 kilo jump. Maybe for the boys, might be a bit more than 10 kilos, maybe 15 to 20 kilos in terms of jumps. So yeah, it's really just dependent.
Right now with Nat, we have 167.5, so that's a 7.5 kilo jump, and that's, again, when it comes to some of the, on the lighter side of female lifters, they can get away with having small jumps, 5 to 7.5 kilos. But then when you have, again, on the larger sides, the larger weight classes, you're probably going to go into 10, like you said, maybe even 15, maybe even 20 kilo jumps, just to make sure they don't go in hooked. Now that's a great attempt, second attempt by Nat.
I think depth was
bit off.
Oh, okay, yep. Three white lights.
Three white lights.
I'm on a worse angle. So
yeah, again, yeah, the angles. That's the thing when it comes to some lifters when they're terrified watching their videos back and they're like, oh, you know, I maybe didn't hit depth, stuff like that. Always think about what's the side ref looking at?
Yep.
How are they visualizing?
Where are they positioned?
Exactly, and that's how you probably want to be positioning when maybe you're filming your videos or maybe asking someone to watch for depth. Or you go from the side. Never look from a weird angle that a ref would never be at for a squat.
Yeah. If it's diagonal, like, you know, where we are, obviously it's going to be a bit harder. You can see what you see.
Yeah.
And the referees see it at, you know, one instance as well, very quickly.
Very quick instance. So they make that split decision. And, but the thing is, whatever their decision is law, and you have to accept that.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So we got Bro up next, 15 kilo jump here.
See, there's a big jump from that first attempt onto 170. 170 is a mad squat to have. Let's go, bro. Very, very clean. Bit sticky, but consistent all the way through. And that's probably what you want to be seeing more so, rather than, you know, how fast it moved or whatever. Just how fluid it moved, how well it moved from there, from bottom to top.
Yeah.
Ask the lifter after they've completed, did it feel heavy? Because sometimes it might just be slightly slow, but it might feel great. So that's where you make your decision from there.
And especially because it's second attempt as well. You know, if you're looking at a second attempt, I think that's about a RP8 or so.
Something about
you still got a bit in the tank.
You need to make sure you have kilos in the tank, but as well, you need to make sure that that is picking up your total. Because, you know, if you're relying on your third to maximize your total, you might leave some kilos on the board. You might miss out on some kilos if you miss that third attempt. You might not cook yourself as much, which is the benefit, but you might miss out on 10, 15, even 20 kilos if you make that massive jump from second to third. That's why you see a lot of coaches, they'll make big jumps from first to second, clear out that first, get it on the board, then they'll make a smaller jump from second to third.
Yeah, and especially given that squats is the first lift.
Exactly.
You know, you still have 6 more attempts in terms of bench and deads as well. You don't want to go, you know, firing out too quickly.
Ooh, just missed out.
Yeah, it's a bit heavy there.
Maybe it's either a slight misgroove or a bit heavy. Seeing as though it's a second attempt, I'll assume that they'll retry that 172.5.
Yeah.
Maybe she goes in there, Coach VA will give her a better cue to run into that third attempt.
Yeah, and you know, when you do miss an attempt, you can either reselect or re-attempt that weight, or you can move up. you know, like you've said, Chucks, I reckon she'll just re-attempt that weight.
It'll be much...
Maybe a miss groove, re-attempt that, yeah.
And that's the thing, when it comes to missed second attempts, that makes it a lot harder for the coach to make the decision whether or not they do go up to just chip something or, you know, get some more kilos in the tank, or whether or not they retry just to make sure that they clear it. Because again, if they then miss a second and a third, that's way more kilos than missing just a second and then getting that again on the third attempt.
Yeah, and I think you got to remember as well, this is, you know, to be honest, it's a high stakes competition.
Yes,
like
100%.
There's money on the line. You know, you want to represent your team. You want to do well. That's great squat, perfect squat there. And you know, that's when you know you start to think, okay, maybe we got to send it a bit more. As
exactly, yeah.
Because
so
if you miss a lift, it might go out of plan, and you know you got to maybe withdraw things. I don't know.
Yeah, but again, when it comes into squats is the first one. Squats is the first. That's just to get some kilos on the board. Maybe being a bit more conservative there to maximize those points or those kilos on the tank, and then moving on to maybe deadlifts and leaving some kilos there to just maximize that. This is a high stakes competition. Maybe there is a few more misses, either for, you know, some nerves, some stress, or coaches being overly ambitious about what their athlete can do.
Yeah, because, you know, ultimately there's prize on the line for the challenges bracket. There's promotion up for grabs as well for teams, and you know, I don't know if you follow the EPL, but promotion and relegation is a big thing.
It's a big thing, isn't it?
You know, so you want. I mean, your team got promoted last year, sorry.
Bit sticky for the 192.5. I do believe that they were trying to project for 200 kilos. We'll see what James and Vinay from Avia. 2 highlights, 1 miss, potentially on depth. What's the yellow? Yeah, was it a yellow?
I didn't see that one.
Yeah. Well,
if it's yellow, then that'll be more so technicality.
Yeah.
So in terms of the colours, you might see red. Red's for depth. Blue, downward movement, soft knees. I'm going on top of my head from USAPL, but
sure,
it's almost the same. Yellow is more technicality. So if you beat the rack man, for example, then that would be yellow.
Yeah. Nick coming in from Avia, 105s, competing up against Liam Cubitt. 232.5 kilo squat. This is getting into that heavy territory right here. Very clean, bit sticky, but again, very smooth. That's what you want to see. If you see a lift that's maybe hard for sticking point or misgrooving or anything like that, that's probably when you might be a bit scared to make a bigger jump. But when it comes to that type of lift, as long as the lifter can stick with the form or the position that they create from the top, you can get away with maybe giving them a lot harder and just telling them stick with it. Because if you have a lot of trust in their ability to keep that form all the way through on that heavy weight, they'll probably get it. 267.5 for Liam Cubitt.
So 20 kilo jump here.
Like I said before, when you have a lot of the heavier lifters, 105s, like we were talking about with Liam, he will be making those bigger jumps from first to second just to hold that fatigue. So then making sure that he'll probably be doing this in training, he'll probably be making those big jumps to get used to it. So then after this attempt, he'll either make another big jump or make that smaller jump just to chip this.
It's very interesting to see, you know, I don't know how much of a difference it's been in terms of some of the IPF changes in terms of ruling, because, you know, as you would know, 3 white lines there, good lift. As you would know, there will be changes to the IPF rule in terms of the stiff knee sleeves. So there was not long ago, I think just before Mega Nats, there was a ruling from IPF saying that stiff knee sleeves weren't allowed. Then only just recently they've come out. I don't know if they've come out, but it's kind of overturned in terms of that rule. And you know, I'm very interested to see how much that's played a part in terms of people's training, people's you know, just lifts overall. Have people shifted, going from, you know, maybe purchasing the non-stiff knee sleeves per se,
of course,
and training at that, and or have they moved back to the stiff knee sleeves? What's going on?
Yes.
You know, so I'll be very interested to see how that plays a part, especially with, I want to say, like the more elite lifters, because I know that may play a difference.
But they'll probably want to stick with that ruling because potentially it might come back in the future where they might want to make sure they get used to utilising some softer knee sleeves. Oh, a bit of a miss, probably a bit too heavy. Still a valiant effort from Eleni, representing VA strength. Only missing out on 7.5 kilos.
Sam here attempting 130, 7.5 kilo increase.
Was a bit sticky on that second, but we'll see. I'm sure that Vinay, again, being a bit of, I wouldn't say a bit of, definitely a veteran himself.
Yeah.
Making sure that he understands his lifter, making sure that he understands how much that they can jump by after having a slight misgroove in that second attempt.
Yeah, very experienced corner. You know, you got James Young there in the background. Jimba, you've got Vinay, of course, coming out here. It's a very experienced team, and you know, I wouldn't be surprised if they do quite well again, you know, with Sam and also Emily Kano.
Yeah, and Nick competing in the 105s.
Yeah, and Nick too, yeah.
Yeah, so they have almost their whole team. Punch out of the, yes.
Wow. Yeah, so
well done, that's fantastic, Sam.
So she sunk that one, dropped in very quickly, however, even though the bar was moving and shifting, her body was shifting and almost twisting, but
no
at the end of the day, no downward motion.
Thing.
As long as the bar goes down at the start, hit depth, goes back up, without any downward motion, which there wasn't any, that's a good lift.
You're making the squats sound much simpler than I feel like they are, but it is
literally
going down and back up. So.
Go down, go back up, as long as it hits step. You know, don't think about everything else. Yeah, not too bad.
Clear your mind.
Yeah, we've got Nikita now, 137.5 kilos.
7.5 kilo jump from her second attempt. Second attempt was very, very good, so I reckon that they might be playing it conservative, maybe not trying to hit 140. We don't know what she's done in training before, so... Big brace, nice and deep punch out of it. That's good. Perfect. And that is honestly the perfect selection.
Yeah, that's a perfect selection there.
When it comes to these selections, and you know, if it's 2.5 kilos off what they've done before, there's multiple things that you need to worry about. And one thing is that mental barrier of hitting that, just that even number of, you know, 140 or 150 or something like that. And in competition, again, that's 7.5 kilos if she was to miss that, or if she went for the 140, hit that mental barrier, that's 10 kilos. So making sure that you understand your athlete, whether or not they're extremely confident coming in there, they don't care about what number it is, but then there is a lot of lifters that are hyper fixated on these numbers, hitting that 140, 150, 170, 200, and maybe getting 2.5 kilos off will just ease their nerves a little bit and they can come in and attempt it as clear as possible.
So we got Shanine here reattempting 172.5 kilos.
Just missing out, potentially a misgroove, because if this is a second attempt, coach has definitely seen her do this before in training, definitely seen her do this very clean in training. Let's go, Shanine. 172.5, very big squat, and punches a little bit. Dipped down a little bit on the depth, maybe went a bit too deep.
I think a bit too deep there. Almost like just try to sink it, and then the recovery there was just a lot more difficult. So unfortunately, you know, she's still on the board. She gets 160.
Still there.
Still there. You know, whilst we're still loading up the bar, you know, just quick thank you to our sponsor, City Strength. Obviously, City Strength have been long supported Strength Fortress.
Yes, they have.
Supported powerlifting in Australia, and you know, they are the distributors for SBDs in Australia, in which TSF also stock SBD merch. So if you're coming down for the weekend, need some
knee sleeves, need some belts.
Yeah,
definitely got to hear at TSF.
Yeah, try it before you buy. Which is great.
Up on Nat squat 3, 175 kilos. Now this is a 3-plate squat. This is a 3-plate squat. Don't tell me 140 is 3 plates. 175 is 3 plates.
Yep.
Punch it up hard. Very, very good. Very happy with that.
Yeah, I think it should be fun again. Depth on my side. It's hard, but 3 white lights
for sure.
That's all that matters. The referees were happy with that, so there you go.
As long as the refs are happy, that's the main thing.
Yeah. So it's a tough seat to be in, you know, personally speaking. Having been there for years, you know, you're making split decisions. You're seeing things from sometimes not the best angle. when you have 5 spotters for 200 kilo plus weights, it's going to be a lot harder to see those weights.
For sure, when you've got some big guys on the platform in your way with their massive quads, it's a bit too hard to see, isn't it?
Yep. So we got Bro here, 177.5 kilos, representing Groove Lifting Club.
Your team,
Yeah.
which you were helping out in the morning with Jono Fung, Kane,
Daniel, and Wendy.
Wendy. A new
Wendy
debut.
Weddle. Yeah.
Punch it, bro. Yes, that is clean.
It's a very good
See what the
squat
refs
there.
say.
Might be borderline for me. 3 white lights, good lift.
There we go.
Again, all that matters.
A bit higher than what she's done in her last 2 squats, but again, as long as the refs are happy, that's the main thing.
Yeah. She'll be super happy with that, you know, coming back into powerlifting after a couple of years hiatus. You know, obviously coming into this prep a bit nervous. So getting that done, three good lifts for squats, she'll be stoked with that.
That's honestly all you can really ask for, getting those 3 lifts on, because that is maximizing your total. Next up, we have Ash chipping Bro's last squat by 2.5 kilos, 180 kilos, representing Paragon, one of our interstate teams.
Do you think, you know, firstly, have you competed interstate? And secondly, if you haven't, do you think it makes a difference in terms of teams coming from interstate, coming down here for the weekend?
For sure.
Mentally, physically?
Well, I have actually competed interstate. I competed at Compounds last year at their start of year competition.
Yep.
And the thing is, it can be either a make or break for some people, because you're not in home territory. You can't go home, you can't relax. You need to fly in a plane, you need to get to the hotel, or you need to get to the Airbnb. You need to make sure you got your food. If you're water cutting, if you're gut cutting, like I was at the time, it can be quite difficult because you're not familiar with the area. You know, there might be external stresses coming into there. Emily Kano with 200 kilos on her 3rd squat. Now, the 192 was slightly sticky, but honestly, I think that with the ferocity in her eyes, she's definitely got it. Oh my gosh.
I think she's hit 200 previously
She
as
definitely
well.
has,
Like,
yeah.
I know from memory in training she's hit it.
I believe she's hit more than 200 kilos. She held a squat record last year in USAPL. Again, that might be my memory mistaking me. Easy up, a little bit sticky in the unrack, but as long as she composes herself like we know she can. And then punch it. Oh, nah. Just that little bit too heavy. And again, only missing out on 7.5 kilos.
Yeah, which, like, throughout the day, I think, you know, she does have a bit of a gap between her and Nikita, which is, you know, her main rival, at least in the Challengers bracket. Sorry, I was going blank there. But Anwar, who is the other competitor, a 4 kilo class for Apex in the Premier bracket, has a total of 475. So
not far off.
Not far off. 15 kilos. That's now, if you're, you know, just taking off quick numbers, 7.5 gap now.
Yeah.
Anything can happen. And, you know, you got to keep in mind in terms of, at least for today, team champs, you know, you've got the Challengers bracket, teams gunning for promotions, getting a bit of cash on the line, but that Premier bracket is where, you know, the bigger prize money, a lot on the line there, a lot on the line.
And probably a lot stronger teams. That's very good. 242.5 by Nick Love. AB up performance.
And teams, you know, the perfect thing, or the most beautiful thing about Team Champs is that you can do well on challenges, you know, and the other teams can see it, you know, if you're in the Premier bracket, teams can see how the other teams have performed in terms of the Challengers bracket.
Of course.
And the Challengers bracket can win. We saw it last year with Panthers. Panthers powerlifting.
They won overall.
Overall.
And they were the Challengers bracket.
Yeah, so whilst, you know, teams can, I guess, you know, Challengers bracket, compete day one, it's kind of a disadvantage in that instance because they only can see what they can see in front of them.
And they do the best they can in the day, but they don't have any finish line to really get to. They don't have a specific number that they should reach.
Yeah.
They just get the best number they possibly can. Then the next day, the teams that are in that premier bracket have that data to utilise for their lifter to have a number to aim for. 5 plates for Liam. Again, a proper 5 plates. 275, punches out of the hole. That is clean for Liam. Now, I don't think that he's having any fatigue from 4 weeks ago. I think he's coming in today with a fire, with a passion, with a vengeance.
Very well, lights. Good.
Really setting the precedent for the 105 class. But again, you also have with the challenge bracket the advantage where if your goal is to just get promoted for next year, you're only versing to the people on day 1. Isn't that correct?
Yeah.
So you're only versing the people on day 1, so that's your advantage. You don't really have anyone else to worry about other than the people on day 1. Versus day 2, where you are focused on how many people have competed on day 1 and who else is competing on day 2. So you've got numbers to look for, but you also have people you're up against, which you don't know what their total is going to be on the day. Elijah with squat 1, 132.5, representing VA strength in the 93 kilo class. Rocking a bit of a higher bar than usual than some people would. Very bouncy, very clean. We'll see what the refs say out of that.
That should be a good lift there. Yep.
Great right lights, very clean.
Yeah, and that's a big thing, you know, for lifters, personal preference in terms of where the bar is set on the back, whether like you go for the high bar or the low bar, doesn't really matter, personal preference.
And you've got the French low bar now, which is a bit of a new tech that people have been picking up recently. I assume the French have made it, but who are very strong, but we'll see. But yeah, a French low bar having a much lower position on the back than a low bar and a high bar would have.
Got Aiden up next now, 145, representing bench warmers. So new team, a new team, they're really just here to, you know, I guess have a bit of fun, see how they go.
Put their name on the board.
Yeah.
Again, competing here can be a very big thing for some smaller teams or some even small gyms or big gyms, because now with the amount of people that you see here, the amount of people competing over 2 days, they know the names of all the clubs that are competing. And now you put yourself on the map, which is, again, a fantastic thing that TSF have done here, creating this competition and building it over the years. You know, last year, SRSC, my gym, bringing in the first team that we've had with Danny Biscoccio. You had, who else was competing last year on my team? I don't think I actually remember. So, but this year we actually changed a bit of the team. Danny's still competing, but we've got Edgar DeGay, who's my business partner, the co-owner of SR Strength Collective. You have Aaron Carew coming out of a 12-month hiatus, and you have Laggy, who's a new member of SRSC. Aston coming in with 150 kilos, another 93 kilo lifter.
That was super easy there. No issues whatsoever. Yep. Right. Yama.
Wide boys. Yama. Wide boys have, they had 3 of their competitors this morning, Atif, Brynong and Emmanuel, I believe it was.
I think so, yep.
Really coming in with a strong team today.
Yep, a newer team as well, with, you know, given that Brynong is competing and coaching,
yeah, which
boys.
is the first time he's done that. He actually competed last year, was it?
Yeah.
Which he actually achieved a amazing 500 dots, which is a huge achievement. I believe it was a 702.5 kilo total at 83 kilos, but he was a lighter 83 kilo lifter. And he did come in today much lighter than what he was last year, and just came in there, put some numbers on the board. As again, an awesome total he achieved today.
Yeah. What's that equivalent in terms of the IPF points? Do you know, like, is that close to 100?
I think it's closer to 100 IPF points. So anywhere around 90 to 100 IPF points, you have a very strong lifter there.
We got Steve here, 160 opening for bench warmers, also 93. So I believe just, you know, bench warmers or group of friends. So
probably lost that balance.
Yeah.
Didn't look that heavy.
No, he got it back up, but, you know, given that he's lost his feet position, 2 reds there. Well, it's not a good lift. Majority of the rules there, but yeah, he did lose a bit of position there in terms of as he was coming up to look like he stepped it twice in terms of feet position.
Probably went in there a little bit too deep,
yeah.
which is a disadvantage because if you go in that little bit too deep, you could sink in and lose that midfoot position. Next up, we have Steph, who's representing Melbourne University Lifting Club. I think my favourites for today. Steph coming up, bar is loaded 190 kilos. Now, Steph has dropped down 2 weight classes in the past 2 years. 2 years ago, I competed against him at USAPL Nationals in the under 110 weight class. Then he moved in last year at USAPL Nationals to the 100 kilo weight class. And now he's lost a further kilos in the 93 kilo weight class. This is his APA, second comp in APA, I believe, or IPF. Punching it. Very controlled lift, very tempoed lift, and that is a perfect attempt for his first one. He's cleared it on the board, put it on the board. That's an awesome lift by Steph.
And I wonder how much, I don't know if that's complete weight cut or just, just going down weight classes, how much that might make a difference in terms of his lifts.
And it really depends on how well that weight has dropped over that period of time, whether or not they had to have a very aggressive acute weight cut strategy. And look, you can have a very aggressive acute weight cut strategy, and as long as that rehydration and refeed process is done correctly, you could really achieve a very big drop in a short period of time. Next up, we have Dale, who's representing Elevate Performance.
So coached by David Barros, another experienced lifter and also someone who's, I guess, been around the scene for Team Champs, previously competed for
3PP,
yeah, you got to take it back, I'm thinking.
2 years.
2 years, yeah. So previously competed for 3PP.
Otherwise known as Groove Lifting now.
Yeah, bit of a rebrand there. So yeah, it's been having, coaching. He's got quite a number of good clients, strong clients this weekend.
Clients today, honestly.
And now we've got Min Doom representing Strength Fortress.
Home advantage today, and like we were talking about with the interstate competition, how about a extremely local lifter competing at his own or their own gym?
Yeah, he lives down the road, so very much a local lifter. Clearly a team favourite with the TSF. I guess haircut in his hair.
Loving the hair. Let's go, Min.
So,
very clean 250.
Min mentioned to me that he's actually signed up for the Sydney Marathon, bit of a hybrid lifter.
Hybrid lifter, the dreaded hybrid lifter.
I think that's his explanation for why bench might be a bit down.
Yep.
Whether or not it's affecting his lifts overall, I think it does play a part, so it'd be interesting to see how he goes throughout the whole day. 93 kilos is kind of like his weight class as he's normally been. Oh, actually, no, he's dropped down. So I think in USAPL was 100, I believe, so he dropped down a bit.
Probably from the running, maybe.
Yeah, so again, someone to be, I guess, keeping an eye on, especially being a local lifter. We've got Bo now, 245, representing Process.
Which Alex Hayes is head coach at, and he was just competing this morning, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was just competing this morning.
In the 83 class. Very strong lift by Bo. Now, I've actually been keeping an eye on Bo because he popped up on my Instagram randomly, and I've noticed that he's increased his total by a considerable amount.
Well, he's first comp as a 93 kilo lifter, pretty experienced. Well, actually, no, he's only got a couple of comps down, so 3 comps down, but first comp as a 93 kilo lifter, first comp under Process as well. So, yeah, I'll be very interested to see how he goes because this is a very strong lifter.
And you can tell that having that increase in the weight class really puts some kilos on the bar. And that's the thing about making sure you understand, okay, what weight class am I in? Should I go down a little bit because maybe I'm slightly shorter? Should I go up a bit to get some muscle size? Because as we know, more muscle equals more weight pushed.
I think it went up. I think from memory it was
83, I believe,
83 kilo lifter. So moving up a weight class, kind of a local lifter as well, if you want to say that. Like, even though Process is a Sydney team, it's actually from, I think, down...
Peninsula Barbell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got Charles up next now, 257.5.
Big opener, 257.5 in the 120 weight class. And the thing with some lifters in the 120 weight class, and I don't know if Charles competed in USAPL before, but it's a 5 kilo difference with the 120 and 125 kilo class. And that could be a big deal for some lifters. Like we said, with the changes from USAPL to APA, USAPL to IPF, you have a slight difference in weight class, and that could really make a difference in the lifter, whether or not it's an advantage because they can eat up a little bit into competition, or a disadvantage because they have to cut down because they probably shouldn't compete in that heavier weight class that they come into.
Yeah. And Charles, he's actually never missed a squat. So
we'll see today. Hopefully, we've got a lot of pressure today.
I don't want to say commentator's curse, but
we'll see.
I don't want to say it at all. He's apparently only had maybe one red, I think, on depth, maybe.
Yeah.
But
that's an achievement in itself, honestly. Now we have Declan with compound training. Again, a formidable team today. Declan is representing, again, compound training in Tassie in the 120 weight class.
Head-to-head with Charles today for the Challengers bracket. Like we've mentioned so far, in terms of Challengers bracket, teams have the chance to be promoted for this weekend to move into the Premier bracket next year. So along the line, there's also prize money for the team that wins the Challengers bracket as well.
Yeah.
And they still have a chance to win overall against the Premier team whilst competing today. So,
and there's still stakes in today. So regardless of what day that you're in, whether it's day one or day two, day one, your goal could either to win the day one, to win overall, or to just be promoted. And that is an achievement in itself. Then into day two, it could also be just trying to stay in the promotional bracket, slowly build up your team, make them stronger to then potentially win in the future. Coming into squat two, Elijah, 145 kilos, which is a 12.5 kilo jump from his first attempt, representing VA strength. Another local team, 93 kilo class.
It's rocking, I was going to say, the SBD, but no.
It's the A7.
It's the A7, yeah, different, sorry. Different.
Same, but different.
145. Good lift.
Moved very clean. Again, rocking a bit of a high bar there, which is a bit of a difference between what you would see a lot of regular lifters have in terms of what they'll be placing their bar in the back, whether they'll probably be placing it slightly lower into a low bar position. Next up we have Aiden, 157.5 kilos. Bench warmers, a new team, haven't competed in Team Champs before. Never really heard of these guys up until today. Again, like I said before, this is putting some teams on the map, whether or not it's an up-and-coming coach who's opening up a new business, or if it's just a team of guys who've competed before or want to compete as a team.
Yeah, it's just a group of friends. That's all it is. We had that last year in terms of
the Chads.
The Chads, just a group of friends. I think that was one of my favourite things about Team Champs last year, seeing 4 guys who almost took on that villain role in terms of
bit of a heel role.
Just team to talk about. Everyone was talking about the weekend. Everyone was talking about how they were going to perform, and just watching closely. I remember, seeing just the movement in terms of them going from, I think, top 3 overall to moving down 4th. And seeing that live in action, it was amazing.
That was a big thing, honestly, because they were put on the table to be potential winners, because they were 4 very strong lifters, and they were, in the up and running for winning. And then when you saw Panthers just push them down a little bit, and day 2 came in, and you had some strong lifters competing, and you're keeping an eye on these strong lifters. They just pushed the Chads just slightly that further down. That was a really exciting thing to see.
Yeah, because you can get, so the whole point, if you come first in your weight class, you get 6 points, 4 points for second place, third place will be 2 points, and then 1 point following that. So 6 points on the line, maximum 24 points per for all 4 weight classes. Obviously, realistically, most teams if not all, won't be able to achieve 24 points.
Yeah.
You can also get a bonus point for nominating volunteers,
which is
well.
honestly a fantastic rule because it really does push the community element in this type of competition. And
I think just overall, because without volunteers,
much better than before. It's fantastic.
This sport doesn't run, and you see it over this weekend. So many people from so many different gyms volunteering. Like I could just see here a lot of familiar faces for me, having been training at different gyms. Obviously you've got Trent Fortress volunteers here, but you've got people from ESS, staff from Shanghai, Ballarat. Just a whole bunch. You and I are from different gyms as well. So
many different people representing their own gyms in different ways. Rather, it could also be from an athletic standpoint, but it can just be from a volunteer standpoint.
Yeah, and I think that's the best thing about Team Champs. Having that element. It doesn't mean that you have to be that one of 4 lifters nominated or being the head coach, but you can just be someone helping out on the day, and that still contributes to your team. That's still such an important element, and I think that really needs to be, I think, admired from, having volunteered for years now. At TSF, it's something that TSF has always pushed for, so having that being a reward and having other teams do that too, I think is really great because
it's awesome. Really awesome.
It might take one person to be like, hey, volunteering isn't that bad, and they might volunteer for the next comp and the next comp and so forth, and then now you've got one person who can now help out different comps, and that just adds to just
makes
that community
part of the community. It makes that lifter or that person a part of the community. Steph representing Melbourne University Lifting Club, making a 10-kilo jump from his first attempt. Watching that tempo down, punch it through. Oh, that is undoubtedly depth coming from Stefan.
It's definitely going a bit busier.
Definitely has. I haven't looked behind me.
Yeah, I only just looked behind. This morning was pretty busy. I think just having a look through and just try and navigate through, but I think it's gotten a bit busier today, or busier now, with our challenges bracket.
And that shows how big this competition is. Maybe the biggest local, definitely the biggest local comp in Victoria, but maybe the biggest local comp in Australia.
Yeah, I think it is the biggest local comp. It's been running for now quite a few years in different iterations, with the whole Premier Challenges bracket running since last year.
Which was a cool addition to the competition.
It just meant more was at stake.
It really picked up the competition last year. Like, I think even though 2 years ago was, I think, the first Team Champs in the after the hiatus, and last year TSF really picked up the game and really made a cool competition with over that 2 days.
Yeah, because powerlifting, let's be real, it's an individual sport.
Yeah.
And having this team aspect really rallies everyone together. Again, like I said, there's more on the line here. And as a lifter, as a coach, whatever capacity, you kind of want to make sure that you are, or mentally, you want to be representing your club as best as possible.
Now we have Min with a 230 kilo squat. I believe that's a 15 kilo jump from his last attempt. I think this haircut is definitely giving him a bit of a boost.
And he should smoke this one, given that this is, weights he's hit before.
Punch, yeah, look at that. Now, regardless, that is heavyweight. It's going to look like it's heavyweight, but the way that he moved that didn't look like there's any kilos in the back at all. Moving on to Bo, which is Min's ops right now, making a big jump, 265 kilos. That's a 20 kilo jump from his first attempt. Surpassing that 250 kilo squat, that's not an easy feat to achieve, regardless of what weight class you're in. 265 kilos is a huge squat.
Just having a quick look, Min's obviously weighed in 88.6, so a bit lighter. He started up as an 83 kilo lifter initially, moved up to 93 kilos, but underweight there. similar to Bo. Bo, 91.9 kilos weight.
Slightly lighter on the 93 side. You might see quite a few lifters, you know, regularly weighing in slightly over what their weight class should be, going in there having a slight either water, gut cut, or a bit of both. So they might weigh only 92.5 kilos in the 93 class. But you see now you have quite a few lifters coming in maybe a bit lighter, just because that's the weight that they feel most comfortable at.
I would say it's not about the weight that's most comfortable, but it's actually tactics in terms of points, because you got to look at your weight class, or if you're moving up or down. If you have a better chance of winning, taking 6 points, that's what they're actually looking for, and that's what Brian Ong did last year, that a lot of people were sleeping on, because Brian Ong, he was, I believe, he weighed in lighter, so he was, I think, supposed to be 75 kilo lifter, weighed in at 76, and decided to go down, up in weight class, because that way he can get the 6 points. He said he will secure it either way, got that, and then actually pushed down the chats. So that's where weigh-ins are actually tactical. You might, if you miss the weigh-ins though, however, so if you go heavier than your nominated weight class, so Jet, for example, this morning, he weighed in 2 kilos heavier. So he actually, 2 kilos, 2 kilos heavier. 2 kilos heavier. He actually got deducted 2 points.
Unfortunately,
so that's also comes into play as well.
And that's where it came in with, you know, those last year, it was 2 years ago, where there was that situation with Chris Shipp and Brian Ong, I believe, where Brian Ong was watching out and seeing, okay, where's Chris going to weigh in at, because he knew that he wasn't going to beat him. So that's why he did that, you know, bit of a change. Then last year, that was when TSF placed that rule where if you were to weigh over or under your nominated weight class, you're going to be deducted points.
Yeah, I think it was just a 1 point deduction from memory.
And now it's 2
now
this
it's 2
year,
points, so it's a bit more on the line, because teams and people were playing a bit too tactically in terms of those nominations, and you saw it like last minute. So this year, kind of almost like stamping it out. 3-1 lights there, easy squats for Charles. Kind of stamping it out, making sure that it's like, all right, we can't. Less of a tactics, it's a bit more clear, and you know, because it does make a big change. Like people, you saw it last year where people, you know, in terms of your nominated lifters, for example, going from, I think it was a 48 kilo class, where there was literally one person that was nominated at the start, then it became 6 people.
6 people.
And you're like, okay, well, everyone's got the same idea, and then now you've got your stacked weight classes reduced.
Yes.
And I think that's the one thing that, like,
and it makes just a huge change. It really does. Coming into squat 3s now, this is where the lifters really need to bring some fire up, because they felt that heaviness with that second squat. Now they really need to use that weight to anticipate how that squat 3 is going to move.
And I'm going to jump ahead now and say this is probably going to be very difficult, because this is a 15 kilo jump from your second.
Big jump.
12.5. Oh,
wow.
Never mind. Take that back.
See that depth though, because it was slightly higher than what he's usually been doing.
Yeah, it was clear. Yeah, it was easy. Very white lights there. Sorry, I wanted just to mention that I questioned it because it was very interesting in terms of coach. Normally you see a lower jump in terms of weights from first to second to third, not a higher.
Exactly.
So you saw a 12.5 into a 15, which is, you know,
it is an unusual thing to do.
But it happens. It happens, and you know, sometimes it works out. It might be also tactics. You know, you might see on the day, second attempt flew, and then might as well go bigger for third. Might be going for chasing a PB. Maybe just moving up places. It happens. You know, and there might be, you know, tactics in terms of the coaches as well. I know I want to say more experienced coaches that would do that. I'm trying to remember the name last year at USAPL Nationals that kind of did that as well. But you might say it.
You might say, and that's the thing where you make those selections where, you know, ultimately if you can make even jumps from each of them, that might be the better selection. But it might not be the better selection for that lifter. Aiden coming in with 167.5 for his third. We'll see what the refs say about that. 1 red light.
I thought it was close. I thought it was close in terms of death, but you know, like you know, my judgments or Day so far, it's been off.
We're running out of
given the
practice,
view.
man.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, when it comes into this third squat, look, you want to make sure you get that 3 white lights. But if you do have 1 red light, no stress at all, because you haven't got another squat to do. If you were to do that in your second squat, you probably need to watch out for that. And that's the coach's choice, whether or not they tell the lifter, hey, just do the exact same thing because it was 2 white lights, you're fine there, or do you tell your lifter, sink it a bit. There's an advantage and a disadvantage on both of those type of cues.
Yeah.
Aston, with representing the bench warmers, 175 kilo squat, 10 kilo jump from his second to third. Like we were saying in terms of that selections, he made a 15 kilo jump from his first to his second, I believe. That was 150 to 165. And then he made a 10 kilo jump.
Yeah.
It is a lot more common selection to make, and it is a tried and true tested method. You know, so to have that, you know, big jump from first to second, first being a bit of a last warm-up, second being putting some kilos on the board, third being, hey, let's see what we can do. Steve coming in again with 175 kilos representing bench warmers. Now he did miss his first squat, but it was a slight misgroove. He probably did go that little bit too deep. Now he's going on for 175 kilos, which is a huge lift. Hard up. Again, that is a proper 3 red plates right there.
Yeah,
Do not tell me
lift.
that 140 kilos is 3 plates.
Very well loads. So again, thank you to our sponsor for the weekend, City Strength, SBD supplier, sponsoring us for TSF Team Champs 2025.
Yeah, I'm walking out this 177.5 kilo squat, representing those wide boys out there.
A 12.5 jump from 10, and
that's a
nailed
smart
it.
lift, a very smart lift. Like, maybe he had 2.55 kilos in there.
Yeah.
But again, do you want to risk adding on, you know, 2.5 or 5 kilos on the total with a lift that he might not make cleanly? Because even if it was a lift that he could do in training, is it a lift that he can do under comp standard with people in the crowd, with 3 people judging his lift and making sure that it's a 3 white lights? Now Steph coming up, another 10 kilo jump, making these clean jumps. These first 2 attempts have been absolutely clean for him, but he's coming in here 210 kilos, under 93 kilo weight class, representing Melbourne University Lifting Club. This is Melbourne Uni's 2nd year represented at Team Champs. First time being 2023, with yours truly as the coach. Almost a pause there.
Perfect.
Knew he could get out of the hole, just needed to stick with it. And like I said, do you really want to compromise your position by, you know, trying to power out of it as fast as you possibly can? Or do you just want to stick with it? Just stick with that position that you created up top and not lose it. Dale coming in with a 220 kilo squat.
Representing Elevate,
David Barros' coach.
DB.
Bit of a veteran when it comes to Team Champs, competing for 3PP 2 years ago, otherwise known as groove lifting.
And last year was running DBHP.
He wasn't he? My mistake,
so rebrand this year with Elevate Performance. We've seen a couple of rebrands this year. And Dale currently lives in Newcastle. Bit of a hike to get down here.
Oh, awesome.
Nails that one. That's perfect.
See how those white lights go? A little bit of a dip in the bottom position.
I think he's nailed that one. Yeah. 3 white lights.
That is awesome.
I don't think much more in the tank, which is fine for
And that's
third
what
attempt.
look, if you can get that for a third attempt, and that depends on your lifter. Do you want to risk making sure that they have no kilos left on the board, or do you just want to make sure you guarantee, come in there, 2.5 or maybe 5 kilos off what they've done in training, just to guarantee that kilos on the board, those kilos on the total.
Min now, 240.
240 kilos.
TSF's Clubman for 2024.
Everyone getting around here.
He's a veteran now at comps. You know, he did his first comp as a 15-year-old sub-junior.
Oh, wow. That's an awesome achievement.
I taught him in year 12, if that makes any difference. But, yeah, very hard-working. You know, he'll want this one.
Punch it up. Hard up. Oh, no way. No way.
That was a perfect selection there.
Dipping a little bit in the hole.
Yeah.
Coming out of there a little bit sticky.
It looked
but
like the knee clicked almost.
he trusted the process and he pushed out of there. And that's what you need to make sure you do. To keep the composure all the way through the lift. If you do not keep that composure, you could easily lose some kilos from a lift that you definitely could have done.
Yeah, very happy there from assistant coach Jez and head coach Josh Liu.
Bo coming in
next.
275 kilos. Another 5 plate squat of the day. 93 kilo weight class. Walking out as cleanly as possible, almost like it's 70 kilos on the bar. Let's see how he performs. Sticking with it, and punches out of that hole. Again, keeping his composure all the way through. And it's really hard. It's really hard to keep the composure. 3 white lights. It's really hard to keep composure with 250, 260, 270 kilos in the back. And that's the hard thing about squats, where you have people that, you know, it's weight on the back. You can't dunk it. You can't just say, oh, that's fine, I'll leave it, like you can on deadlifts.
No, and if you do dump it, that's call for disqualification.
Exactly. You're risking the health of these awesome volunteers out there on the board.
Yeah.
Declan, 282.5 kilos.
So second last squats for today. Big numbers being thrown around here.
He's keeping his composure. He was called out, didn't realize it, but he waited. He didn't run out there. He didn't freak out. He waited.
Well, lifters do have the full 60 seconds to use.
Exactly.
As soon as the bar is loaded, the call from firstly the referee to the MC, and the MC will say bars load. That's when the time starts.
Let's
so
go,
full
Declan.
60 seconds, plenty of time.
Hard out of the hole. Oh my
Nice and
God.
easy.
That
Nice
is
and
the cleanest 280 plus I've ever seen in my life.
Nice and easy there.
And that's the thing, like, regardless of how much time you have left on the board, 60 seconds is a lot of time. So if you're called out and you are not ready, keeping your composure, making sure you pretend like I have, 37 minutes to go out there and complete that lift, you will make sure that you go out there and complete it as best as you possibly can.
And that's one of the big things that you'll see from, the difference between a inexperienced coach and an experienced coach. An experienced coach will be like, we've got a couple minutes, chill out. Or a non-experienced coach might be panicking, rush. And I've seen happen where people might have their wrist wraps not on or missing, not done properly.
Yeah.
Something just rails them, and they end up panicking, missing the lift because the coach and client, wasn't ready.
290 kilos, the last squat of today.
And like I said, earlier on, he's never missed a squat.
Well, let's see. Come on, Charles. He punches out a hole, sticks. Oh, no!
I knew it!
No,
I knew it! It was
Francis.
the commentator's curse.
Francis.
I called it earlier, and it's happened.
No.
It's actually happened.
Oh, well, it was still an
It
amazing
happened.
effort. He only missed out on, I believe, 12.5 kilos. Look, 12.5 kilos is a big miss, but for the 120 class, to be honest, a lot of the lifters will be making 12.5 kilos and potentially miss out on that as well. But that calls it.
The commentator's curse.
Oh, my Francis.
Strikes once more.
Francis.
It's happened so many times, and
He's going to learn from his
mistakes.
mistakes, and he's going to move on and pretend like that never happens. And we won't tell Charles, because I don't think he'll be very happy. But that was.
Won't
look,
tell Alex as well what we just said. But so we'll have a bit of an intermission now before bench press starts.
Yes.
So tune in shortly.
That was fantastic.
Green, black, green,
Hey, just me, yeah.
You can see me easy enough?
Yeah, fine.
I'll head over to Starbucks when we have a 20-minute break. Isn't it a 20-minute break? Oh, okay, I'll just head over and finish the squat. It's Starbucks, so we'll do it very quickly.
Okay, we're one over Windsor referees in position. Referees in position. First up, we have Lady Gonzalez. She'll be followed by Sam Sutton. Nikki McBride, Michelle Jordan. 30 seconds. Lifters are coaches in position. First up, we have
Welcome back to Team Champs at the Fort 2025. Moving on to day one, session 2 bench. Eleni opening up with a 50 kilo bench press representing VA strength in the 76 kilo class. Now we had amazing squats before from both flights, but now we forget about squats. We forget that's favorite thing, and we move on to the bench press.
Most technical lift.
It is definitely the most technical lift, and they've added in only, I would say recently, but it's probably been close to 12 plus months, that bench depth rule. And we have a lot of lifters moving from different federations coming into IPF now.
It's been in place for a while, yeah.
It's been a while, hasn't it? Yeah, it's been a
couple
while,
years
yeah.
now.
So, but it's only been about 12 months for some lifters because of that change from the different federations.
Yeah,
so
and even less, yeah.
It can be a big thing for these lifters, and they need to change this tech for them to be able to achieve that 3 white lights.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how some of these lifters perform coming from different federations. You know, the elbow depth rule, having the, I think it was the bottom of the elbow joint needs to be below the shoulder.
I believe so, yeah.
Or something like that, but yeah, that's probably going to be harder to, I won't say not harder to monitor, but more so it might be something that some coaches might struggle with in terms of asking for videos, asking for feedback.
And also to teach in general, because some of these coaches themselves, like, you know, being maybe like 2, 3, 4 years old in the industry, they might not be familiar with teaching something like that because they haven't learned it themselves. And that's why having a lifter that's a coach that's in the type of sport that you're doing, like powerlifting, it's really important for them to understand this type of form, and then they can actually approach that with their teaching in the bench press.
Yeah, and a lot of these coaches are also moving from federations as well, you know. You have someone like Alex Hayes, who's been competing on the IPF for a while now, so he's probably a lot more familiar with that style of benching in terms of making sure that elbow depth than maybe a club like Avia, who have moved from USAPL to APA this year. And a lot of clubs, you know, I would say more so the Victorian clubs, because they're moving from a different federation to APA.
Yeah.
Some of the lifters as well. So it might be something that, you know, they've got to adjust. And bench is already a difficult lift to execute. You've got to wait for the referee's calls. As soon as you unrack it, you can hear a start. Bar brings down to your chest, needs to be paused, dead motion, nothing moving. Then you can hear a press command, press back all the way up, elbows locked, and then rack.
Make sure you wait for that rack. That's a big thing for some of these.
And you'll see, like, in terms of, like, you know, maybe, obviously elbow depth is something the chief referee is looking for. Elbows locked out at the start and finish as well. In terms of the side referees, they're looking for the hips being on the bench, feet on the floor as well. The feet, I'm actually gonna.
That's a new
I'm
rule,
not sure if the feet can move. I'm going off previous.
I believe it's after the start commands, you cannot move the position of your feet.
Okay, yeah. So you can't even shift it at all.
No, I do not believe so. Yeah. Well, look, I think it depends on how much shifting that you would actually have. Sam, 55 kilo bench press.
Well, I'm thinking, like, if it's, I've seen if it's moving, forwards, for example, like slipping.
It might be fine, because I believe it would be heels up, obviously, because that's a rule that we make sure that we apply, where you have to have the heels contacting the ground. So if
which is different for different federations.
And if the slip does happen and it causes the heels to come up, that would obviously be a red light. So I believe, having some shifting is fine, but I believe it's dependent on how much shifting there actually is and whether or not that the heels leave the bench.
Yeah. Another big thing to see here is whether or not lifters ask for a lift off from the spotters, and that is so critical in terms of the communication as either the coach or the lifter to the person giving the handout. So
100%.
For here today, or at least right now, we've got Matty from ESS. He's doing the handouts, and if the coach / lifter doesn't give the clear communication in terms of how they want the handout, because you could say, "Oh, I want a light handout," but light handout can mean anything.
It can mean anything.
Or like you say, 50% what, 50% what, So the clear, good lift there from Nikita. Clear, effective communication is critical, especially between, if you're a coach / lifter to the person that's giving the handout, because you want to make sure. And you can always adjust it. The first attempt, I think, is perfect for that. If you use, give that communication, you felt like, okay, this guy didn't give it 100%, or this girl didn't give it 100%, or like what I wanted to. You can go next attempt, second attempt, be like, hey, just exactly what you did, maybe just a fraction more power with the lift off. So you see here, Bro communicating with Maddie here in terms of how she wants her lift off, and that's very, very important.
And you might see quite a few lifters might spend quite a bit of time explaining it because they want to make sure that that communication is done correctly.
Yeah.
And that also proves how much time you actually have on the platform.
Correct.
Obviously, don't overdo it. Don't explain it for 55 seconds because you will not be able to get the bench. But spend your time explaining it. Make sure that they understand what that you want. Even if it's something that's obvious, even if it's something that you think they might know, I'm sure that the person handing out would really appreciate it if you gave them as much communication as possible.
Yeah.
Don't be scared to give them as much information as you possibly can.
Yeah, and especially for your first attempt, like we said, there's nothing wrong with that, and first attempt, most likely it's the first time asking for a handout, so you want to be as clear and effective as possible. Following that, the second and third, you don't really need to talk that much. You're more, and it's getting heavier, so you're more ready. Don't need that. But again, it's personal preference in terms of a handout. It's not whether or not one is better than the other. Some lifters might prefer it. Depends on the racks that they're using as well. So today we're using the Eleiko combo, and some lifters might be using different combos where the rack height might be slightly off. Like I know, having trained on, previously it was exclusively Eleiko, training at Strength Fortress and also the fabricated lifts. But competition was Eleiko, so kind of got used to exact equipment. But you can go to different comps where they're using a Goliath rack, they're using different equipment, and the rack heights are different. They're not identical, they might be slightly different. And again, making sure that you're trying it out beforehand. If something's off, rectifying it earlier.
Of course,
even just the lift-offs, it might be slightly different to what you're used to, so you might have to ask for that clearer lift-off as well.
And that's the advantage of if you were to either train here as a lifter, or the best thing you'll possibly do if you do not train at this specific gym or the specific gym that you compete at, make sure that you go to that gym and try it out if you can. Obviously, if you're interstate lifter, if you could spend 2 weeks here, training at the gym that you are competing at, that's going to give you such a high advantage. But if you don't, and you train at a commercial gym or a gym that's slightly far, go and try that gym out the week before. Try your heavy bench press here, or if you don't train with calibrated plates, try your heavy deadlift here, just to make sure that you know how it feels before you get onto the platform.
Yeah, and one of the things that TSF does offer, especially for comps, is the week prior. It's actually free casual sessions. So if you are competing at Team Champs, for example, it's always good to just have a feel for the equipment. It makes, I know for some lifters, it makes a huge difference in terms of what they're lifting on. Either the bar might be the knurling, for example. If it's the combo, it might be the rack height. Even the bench, the thickness as well. I remember a couple of years ago where some lifters were completely thrown off with the Goliath bench because the padding was a lot thicker than the Eleiko, and that ended up messing up with their feet positioning, their unrack, everything. So being familiar, try it out.
Really,
TSF,
really important.
If you're competing at Team Champs, go week prior.
Give it a try. That was Shanine with a 90 kilo bench. Now, Shanine is 10 kilos ahead on bench than Emily Kano, so it'll be interesting to see how much she can catch up on that total with her bench press. Natalia with a awesome 107.5 kilo bench press as an opener. Now, when it comes to that bench depth rule, it is very it affected a lot of the female lifters because they were over-reliant on that arch position and to minimize that range of motion. So you might see Natalia here actually change her bench position or change the way that a regular bench may look to accommodate for that rule to make sure that that elbow depth is much lower.
And a 107.5 bench for a 76 kilo female lifter is insane.
Yeah.
Like, it is
very, very big.
Massive. As an opener too.
Opener is ridiculous. And we don't know what her next attempt might be. It might be that 107.5. Yeah, that's an awesome
5
lift.
kilos.
Yeah, I know.
112.5, easy, easy.
But you might see with a lift like that, even though it is a heavy lift, she still might only be making. Well, that's one red light. What do you reckon that is for Fred?
Red. I'm unsure.
Okay, well,
I don't remember my colours.
He's out of practice, man. So, but
Retired.
you might see that even though it is heavy, she'll probably be making those 5 kilo jumps. You might think that she might make a big jump, but no, because that 107.5 is super light for her. But then 115, 117, that's probably extremely heavy. It's only 10 kilos off, but it is a big jump. Moving on to Nick, we've got 147.5 first, 140 plus bench of the second session of benches. Representing Avia, bit of veterans here. You've got Jimba, Young, and Vinay.
Yeah, Jimba and Vinay, big, long-term, or been in the industry for a very long time, very experienced.
Probably got 25 plus years right between the two of them.
Yeah, so having both of them at the helm this weekend
have a huge advantage, and that's the thing when it comes to some gyms that have multiple coaches. It's very beneficial because you communicate really well with each other, and having that person that you work with on a regular basis together, easy communication. Versus some teams who only have one coach and get someone, they need to choose who their assistant coach is today because it's only, correct me if I'm wrong, you've got one assistant coach per session plus the head coach.
Yep, correct.
So that's why you need to make the right decision, okay? Who's going to be your assistant coach if you don't have someone that you work with regularly?
Yeah,
and it could be an advantage where you might choose one of the best coaches in Australia, or that might be a disadvantage because you never worked with them before.
Yeah, and unlike coaches, again, I think there's an advantage and disadvantage, especially for a team competition, because you can only see what you see in terms of videos and stuff. I'm taking probably the higher level online coaches like your Victor Luz, for example, probably have extreme feedback in terms of everything. So I guess the difference between a Victor Luz in terms of online coach versus a gym, powerlifting gym, will probably be a lot more narrow.
Exactly.
Whereas maybe some other online coaches, discrepancy between that and Strength Fortress, for example, might be very different because you're having coaches that see everything day to day, communicate that day to day, as opposed to someone who might check in once a couple of weeks.
Yeah, and those people who check in day to day, face to face. And look, some online coaches who spend their time, making sure, hey, send me videos of every single one of your sets. It makes the difference because you're fully aware of that lifter and what they're familiar with.
And even just, I was just going to add, even just something like, how are you feeling this week? How's your mindset?
Exactly.
How are you coming into today? Have you had enough fluids, food, everything? Like those
important
little
things to
are
check
very
in.
important. Yeah.
It's those pillars that really, really make the difference. Moving on to bench 2, Alini pushing to a 52.5 kilo bench press, only a 2.5 kilo jump.
And you'll see that a lot happening in terms of, especially the females, in terms of jumping 2.5 kilos for your attempts.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw in the first session, but most females actually ended up not making their third attempt bench.
Yeah.
And it's purely because the 2.5 kilo jump is a massive jump. Like you're looking at, if it's 50 kilos and you're jumping 2.5, it's like nearly, 5% increase. It's a massive jump. Whereas like a male, for example, doing 150 to 152 is peanuts. It's all relative.
It's nothing.
There's no, it's not going to make a major factor. So, these jumps, these increments for females, and especially for a coach, is I think really important to be like, what's your overall game plan? Are you going to go a lot more conservative to make sure that you get your numbers on the board, or you're just going to be like, it's only 2.5 kilos.
That's all we lose
just send
out
it
on,
for your third attempt. Send it for third attempt. If you miss it, it's 2.5. It's not the end of the world, especially for bench, because of the difference. However, if we're talking about, if you want to win the competition, You got to make the lifts. You
Yeah.
got to make the lifts. 9 for 9 lifters
9
are the
for
one
9 is the one
that-
to make.
That's
And look, you know, that could be an advantage for some of the lightweight female lifters where, you know, say their biggest bench press is 55 kilos, but they repped 50 kilos like it was nothing. You might get away with just losing that, you know, 2.5 kilos and only get that 8 for 9. But, you know, it could also be that, did we jump too much? Did we make sure that, should we have finished with that 50 kilos? Just clear that, you know, 9 for 9, make sure that we get that that weight that, you know, we probably could double on a good day and move on from there. Make sure you build some momentum into deadlifts. But you would not see a, you know, a heavier lifter who can bench that 120 plus make those decisions. They won't be doing 120, 122, 125. They'll probably be making 5 to 10 kilo jumps. Next off, we've got Nikita representing Paragon, one of our interstate teams.
so currently coached by Beck Chambers today.
Bit of a veteran in the powerlifting scene as well. You've got some veterans in the back representing their own teams. Got 100 plus years of experience right there. Awesome second attempt bench. Now with the second attempt benches, you'll probably be seeing them, you know, have a little bit of a sticking point because again, you want to make sure that you're getting quite a bit of kilos on the total. So you want to make sure that that second attempt is the right decision. You know, you want to have it specifically on bench, maybe 2.5 kilos left in the tank after the second attempt. Then you move on from there. What do you do from there? You know, you either try your maximum bench, or do you get 2.5 kilos off, or do you get 2.5 kilos plus your maximal bench? That's the decision the coach will make after the second attempt. Bro moving on to 77.5 kilos, so that's a 5 kilo jump, representing groove lifting. First team champs comp and first comp with groove lifting, I believe.
Yep.
Yes, so first comp with groove lifting, and she's representing one of the biggest local comps, representing groove at one of the biggest local comps in Australia right now.
Yep. So one of the biggest powerlifting clubs, also one of the biggest competitions in Australia. Nice easy bench
Clean.
there.
Easy peanuts. Now you're probably looking at 80 plus kilos on that bench press. I assume so because 77.5 was easy.
Yeah, I think she's hit 80 kilos before.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure from memory in training as well. So wouldn't be surprised if 82 there. Like I think, you know, if Coach Deli was going to select 80, it's a guaranteed thing. Whether or not he goes 82 is, you know, obviously dependent on the competition at the moment as well. Because, you know, she's, excuse me, right up there against Ash, who's about to make an attempt here.
Yeah,
not
only
much
got 5
difference.
kilos from
Not
the
much
last
difference.
one. And that's the thing, like, do you risk? Because you see 82.5 kilos, and that might give a little bit of advantage, or do you wait to deadlifts? Because that's the thing, you do wait to deadlifts to make sure you catch up, or do you try and catch up a little bit earlier so then you can hold that conservative deadlifts? And that will depend on the third attempt. So we'll see how Bro goes with this, but Ash making 85 kilos look a little bit sticky.
I reckon just 87 there.
That might be a better
Only in the
selection.
tank. She did represent Paragon last year. Still 319, still a good lift.
That's still a
but
good
I think
lift.
2.5 left in the tank.
But that's
that's
only,
pushing it.
that's only 2.5 kilos. So whether or not they try and make sure that, okay, did we have, you know, 80, or what is it, 87.5, or do we try for 90 and miss out on 5 kilos, or potentially get 5 kilos, or do we just chip it? And it might be the smartest decision to just chip it, depending on what they select. But they did, they got 87.5. But now we got MK making a 5 kilo jump from her first to her second, 85 kilos. Again, representing avian performance. Bit of veterans in here, have competed at Team Champs a couple of times now, pre-hiatus and post-hiatus. And just missing out on a 200 kilo squat, which she's done before, but again, it's not something that you should be upset about. You just move on, you utilize, good bench by MK. But, you know, if you miss a third, you make sure that that doesn't derail you. You make sure that it doesn't, you know, hurt you. You just build that momentum and build those kilos from the total. You know, you get a bit of a redemption maybe on bench press or deadlifts to catch up on that kilos. Now we got Shanine, 95 kilos. Only a 5 kilo jump from her second attempt, but there's a 10 kilo jump from MK. Janine representing VA strength in the 84 plus weight class. Now, Shanine right now is only 3 of 3 for 84 plus kilo females, correct? Yeah. So the thing when it comes to having, the thing that when it comes to being, 3 out of the weight class, do you try and make sure that you come first, or do you just get some kilos on the board? It really depends on where you're at. It really depends, do I just keep it clean? Do I just make sure that we get some points for the team? Or do I be a bit aggressive and make sure that I try and get that second place? And look, the only risk that you have is, touch wood, potentially bombing out, but you make sure you get, those clean totals or those clean lifts from the first squat, first bench, first deadlift, and you're fine. You're making sure that you get that on the board, you get those, get those points for third place, or you try and get those points for second place. And I guess that's the advantage of being in a really, small weight class. Only 3 people, you're guaranteed points on the team. Whether or not that's, the maximal amount of points or the minimal in that weight class, depends.
Yeah, and like you said, just making the weights, you never know what can happen on the day in terms of your opponents, whatever, external factors.
Oh yeah.
You saw it last year, the weather over the weekend, it was the hottest weekend for the year. 40 plus degree heat, which will be
last year,
plus 5 at TSF. Good lift there from Natalia. Insane numbers.
112.5 kilos, so that's a 5 kilo jump from her first attempt.
Yeah, this year, obviously being in
colder.
June, slightly colder is an understatement. It's definitely colder, let's be real. So I think that's probably an advantage to everyone. I think it's a more equal playing field in terms of that. Last year, I would say, was a bit of a disadvantage for every other team bar Panthers. I remember speaking to your head coach, drawing blank in terms of his name now.
Webster.
Webby. Colin Webb. And he was like, the first thing I said, like in the morning, he was like, it's super hot. He's like, it's a bit cold. That's when I knew. That's when I knew. They're winning the whole thing.
They're winning. And that's the thing, like, you have those climates, like you have AFL players who maybe will be training the whole time in Victoria, then they go and play a game. Yeah, there you go. They go and play a game up in Darwin or Queensland. They are at a disadvantage. So even here in powerlifting, that's the exact same thing. So you have some interstate competitions. Like you said, what's the difference with me competing locally versus interstate? Weather can be a huge thing. And, competing at Hobart last year for compounds, it was freezing. It was much colder than what it was in Victoria. And that, didn't put me at a disadvantage at all, but it was just an extra factor. Liam Cubitt, 180 kilos. Now, this is a big bench. Speaking of Tassie, representing compounds. That's easiest 180 I've seen on bench press. Now, a little bit sticky though, but he might only make like that 5 kilo jump, depending on what he's done in training.
2 wide lights there, so still good lift. 2 to 1, which is all that matters in terms of getting a good lift.
Moving on to bench, the third bench presses. Eleni making another 2.5 kilo jump, like we were saying. Potentially 50 kilos being a weight that she can rep out versus 55 might be a bit of a struggle. So we'll have to wait and see. But this is where we need to get some hyper focus in this situation. We can't be too over fired up and not think about, hear the commands. We can't forget what we're meant to be doing when it comes to the specific form that we have. $55 kilos on the bar. 1 yellow plus collar. Very smooth unrack, waiting for those commands. Very clean, very, very clean. And you might think that she might have 7.5 kilos on there. But again, when it comes to these type of weights that, some of the females will be lifting, they might only have, 1.5 kilos because that 2.5 kilos is a big jump. So definitely a smart decision there. Samantha moving on to 65 kilos. And this is a proper blue plate right here, blue plate with the collar, 65 kilos. Sam representing Avia Performance in the 76 class.
So she's an M2 lifter. but obviously that doesn't really play a part.
Doesn't matter in this
local
competition at all, yeah.
because it's just the weight class that's really at stake there.
So it wouldn't really give you an advantage if you're a junior, if you're a sub-junior, or if you're a masters lifter in this specific competition. It will only be weight class that's the advantage. That is a sticky but strong bench press, and that's probably what you want to be seeing in your third attempt. Something that's a bit hard, shows that you don't really have any kilos left in the tank to make sure that you maximize the amount of kilos you have on your total. Fantastic efforts for Avia today. Moving on, we have Nikita representing Paragon Strength, 75 kilos.
Yeah, so taking a 2.5 kilo jump.
Small jump, but it's probably a jump that she's very familiar with.
Yeah.
And that's important, making sure that you make these jumps in training from your last warm-up to your top set. Because if you're not really practicing that, you can't really have that type of, you haven't had that practice in competition either. So making sure that if you have a lifter that you want to make small jumps, 2.5 kilos, 5 kilo jumps, they do that in training. But if you want to have a lifter make bigger jumps, you do that in training, because that's what training's about. Very strong, very, very good by Nikita.
Well, actually, I think it just depends on the day as well, because comp, the difference between training and comp is, I think, very different. You see we're packed to the rafters in terms of the crowd, and having trained, you might train at gym, or you might train by yourself, where it's, very different to training in a very loud, over-stimulating potentially environment.
And you need to keep your cool when it comes to those type of stuff. It might be a disadvantage for some lifters training by themselves, having their headphones in, not talking to anyone, and they come into this type of environment with, look, it's an advantage as well, because you've got that, that energy, and you can utilize that energy, but making sure that, it doesn't overstimulate you, it doesn't get you off whack, or it doesn't throw you off. Bro with a 5 kilo jump. Now we'll see how this goes. This could be advantage for her. Sticking with it.
Perfect
that
execution.
Was awesome, and that was a perfect selection from Delhi.
Yeah. I did say, 80 would be way easy. 82.5, right on the money there. So perfect execution from Alex. Delhi, coach of Groove.
Ashley only making that 2.5 kilo jump, but she does have the advantage having that bigger second attempt, 2.5 kilos on her third attempt, Rochelle's third attempt. So will this pick her up by 5 kilos? We'll have to wait and see. Getting this, she'll have a 7.5 kilo lead on Rochelle. Now, Ash competed last year for the Paragon team, 2024, during that heat wave. Good on rack. We'll see how this goes. Come on, Ash. Nah. Bit of a misgroove. Yeah. Pressed a little bit too forward, and that really threw her off. Now that only gives her, I believe, a 5 kilo lead on Rochelle now, and that could give Bro a bit of an advantage. It seems as though she's opening.
Well, no, actually,
a little bit less.
Bro's opening at 135, and Ashley's opening at 150.
So we'll have to wait and see, depending on how Ash performs in her first few attempts.
Yeah, so Ash has a 5 kilo lead, but also 15 for the opening deadlift, so 20 overall.
But you never know what's going to happen in deadlifts.
Yeah.
MK on a 90 kilo bench. Again, representing Avia Performance. At these third attempts, we've got some heavy bench presses from both the female and the male classes. Bit of a struggle, but still got it up. Hit the racks on the way up. But still got the white lights. Yeah, very, very good. Now, when it comes to the bench press, as long as you don't rack it too early, you should be fine, right, Fran? If you hit the racks just that slightly.
Yeah, it's perfectly fine and legal to hit the racks early, or just on the way through as well. I know someone like JP, for example, was doing it quite often, as long as it doesn't, it's not an advantage, which it isn't. So
Definitely not an advantage.
if the bar goes up, still in an upward motion, no downward motion in terms of hitting the rack, then it's perfectly fine. And it'll still be 3 white lights there. As long as you don't throw it. No,
as long as you don't throw it back, but it definitely doesn't put an advantage, so I would not suggest you do that. But we got Shanine, 100 kilos on the bar, making those 5 kilo jumps, 90, 95, all the way to 100. A little bit wonky on the unrack, but we'll see how she goes here. Oh wow, that is an awesome 100 kilo bench press. Now that's the biggest bench press of the 84 plus class at the moment.
That's a very good bench.
Well, it will be the biggest bench press at 84 plus that. With 3 white lights, that's perfect, that's awesome. Now moving on to Nat, 117.5 kilos. Again, compounds, first year with compounds, performing at Team Champs, and they are a force to be reckoned with.
I think one of the probably, I haven't looked into it too far ahead, but I think they'd be one of the favourites actually for promotion.
Honestly, I think that they definitely are a favourite because of the people that they have. And honestly, all of them are in pretty stacked weight classes, but it doesn't, there's no disadvantage for them because they're strong. They're just so strong. So let's see how Nat goes. This is 5 kilos on her current total.
Experienced lifter as well, having competed 7 times.
Oh,
that looks good.
That is awesome. See how the white lights go. Only 1 red, 2 white lights from Nat. Yeah, perfect. That's awesome.
I actually think it might be elbow depth.
You reckon elbow depth?
Yeah, just going off that the other referee, like, I mean, obviously, like, the other referees can't see it as well. It's really just the center referee.
Yeah.
I'm unsure with the colours, but I would take that's probably elbow depth.
Yeah.
But again, 2 to 1, that's all that matters.
Nick coming in, 157.5, 2.5 kilo jump. Now, this is a small jump for a big dude. But this is probably just to guarantee some kilos on the bar. 2.5 kilos is still some good kilos on your total. If you can get it, you should get it. Pressing back. Oh, nah, just missed out. Just hit that sticky point, and you will notice that with a lot of the closer grip lifters. Closer grip lifters will have a bit of a sticky point. They'll be really fast off their chest, but they'll have a halfway point where they just can't push through. And that's what you'll notice with the wider grip lifters, or those slower range of motion lifters. They will be able to, push all the way through, but if they can't get off their chest, it just won't move. Liam Cubit, only a 2.5 kilo jump. The 180 was a bit sticky. This might be just a very smart decision for him to make this. 2.5 kilos, again, is still a good amount.
I'll actually question that in terms of whether or not it's a smart decision. I'm going to say, at 2.5 kilos, when you're benching 180, and at the moment he's in first place. 2.5 kilo difference in terms of bench, not much.
Not much.
I'd say very minimal. However,
however, he still gets it.
However, when you look at the grand scheme of things, because technically he is competing against Tyson and Tim in the Premier bracket, that's what he's probably trying to go up against. Rather than 2.5 is minuscule. It is such a small jump. I think it's a big risk, and I'll be very curious to see how he goes for third attempt, or just deadlifts. Given that he's also competed like 4 weeks ago.
4 weeks ago, yeah.
I question that. However,
still made it.
It
still
might
got
be,
the kilos on the total.
Yeah, still, numbers added to the total. Could be also going for a PB as well. There's probably more on the line than what we see and may question.
Steve opening up with a 90 kilo bench. So this is the first benches for session, for flight B, sorry. Representing bench warmers. a new team to Team Champs, putting themselves on the map. That was a great first attempt. Making sure you just clean that first attempt.
Oh,
I have a few people that's been clutching their back after their bench presses, which is a bit unfortunate. A few people this morning I've noticed. Most likely cramps. You know, when you have that big arch, when you really emphasize, you know, that leg drive, you will get a slight cramp in the back at some point. You know, you will notice it with a lot of the lifters that might be, you know, doing a bit of a water cut. They might be low on their sodium, so they won't be, you know, getting their electrolytes. They need to make sure they get their electrolytes in. They might get a little bit of a cramp, but as long as that they are able to push through, you know, they know what they're meant to be doing in the back when it comes to those things, whether or not it's, you know, eating their salts or drinking their soy sauce. It depends on what they prefer. Elijah, 102.5 for his opener. VA strength. Clean opener, that's all you can ever ask for your opener bench. Now we have a few 93 kilos today, 93 kilo lifters. Ashton up next, 105. Again representing bench warmers in the 93 kilo class. Now, it might put this team at a bit of a disadvantage because, again, you are competing in your weight class for the maximal amount of points. If you win your weight class, it's 6 points. But the thing is, if you are on the same team as someone in the same weight class, you can't get the maximal amount of points. But is that the goal for today, for this team? Probably not. They most likely want to be just getting on the platform. They might
just having fun.
They might just
they're just friends. They're just friends, you know, competing. And sometimes that's what happens, you know, and it could be, you know, teams that might not be able to fill out in terms of competitors. So, like for example, Guru, you know, we have John and Kane in the same weight class in the 83s, and you know, it might be a disadvantage. It is a disadvantage, actually. I'll take that back. It is a disadvantage in terms of trying to gain that maximum point of 6 points for Team Champs for the weight class. But it might just be that, you know, teams might not be able to fill that weight class. It might be that the friends are all in the same weight class.
Yeah.
So,
but it still doesn't mean they can't be promoted. You know, if as long as that they get the most amount of points that they can, and I believe is it top 3 that they get promoted?
Yeah, I think top three promoted.
Yeah. But we'll have to wait and see, obviously, with the other teams, because there is a few teams that have got at least one person in a different weight class. So that team will be at a bit more of an advantage than the teams that have multiple people.
Yeah.
Min with a 112.5.
Quite under his best bench. So previously he has benched 135. I think at Junior Nationals under USAPL last year, because I had the pleasure of refereeing him, and he made it known to me that he got that lift. So he did say he was a bit under. He'll be happy with 125. So I wouldn't be surprised if he hits 122 today. Oh well, he's got 120 next up on the board. So yeah, 125 I think will probably be 125 to 127, depending on how his body's feeling. We've got Dale here opening with 120. Being coached by DB, David Barros from Elevate Performance, another team that's changed their name, previously known as DBHP.
Who had a team last year.
Yeah. Previously had competed for 3PP, so very interesting to
2 years
see
ago,
the transition from people from 3PP going to different coaching avenues, because obviously James Young one of the coaches for Avia. Delhi's obviously stayed with 3PP and the coach there. David Barros is basically coaching under his own brand.
Which, you know, it's a thing that you see in powerlifting where, you know, people are specifically coaches who are, you know, under specific other teams. They grow and they evolve into their own teams, and it's just a cool thing to see when it comes to this type of stuff, because, you know, it's opening up the community for more lifters to come in. It's opening up the community to see more people thrive in this type of sport. And that's all we want to see, just people thriving in this sport. It's really, really cool to see these teams be made by people who originally were competing under other teams, because then it grows the sport more and more. We've got Aiden, 120 kilos, got a couple of 120 openers, representing bench warmers in the 93 kilo class. Yeah, and like we said with the unracks, it really depends on the individual themselves. Do they like a really heavy unrack? Do they like a really light one? But then it also matters on the person unracking what they understand that thing is. What do they understand as a heavy or a light unrack? And that's why you really need to spend your time communicating. You have 60 seconds on the board. That is a lot of time. And that's enough time for you to be able to communicate, you know, the maximal amount of words, the maximal amount to tell them, hey, this is what I want. Next up, we've got Steph representing Melbourne University Lifting Club. 155 kilo opener. Now he's a very big bencher, very, very big bencher. Smack in the face, get himself G'd up.
Yeah, and you'll see, you know, these lifters use different methods in terms of G'ing themselves up. So Stefan, obviously slapping himself. Some other lifters might ask for a slap from their coaches. Ammonia is one of the big things, which needs to be used behind closed doors, of course. Well, not really closed doors, just behind the curtains from the public. So you might see that being used quite a bit. And bit of advantage. There was a very tempo bench.
He's got very particular form. I've seen him train and do his heavy lifts at the Melbourne Uni Lifting Club when I'm there. And the thing is, it's all about keeping the position all the way through. He doesn't want it to be thrown off. So it will almost look like a tempo bench press. Moving on to Bo, 157.5 kilos in the 93 class. It's only 2.5 kilos from Stefan's opener. Currently competing against each other, but Bo had a 275 kilo squat, which is 65 kilos above Stefan's third attempt squat. Not asking for an unrack. Now, again, like, it depends on your personal preferences. What have you done in training in the past? Do you like having your own unrack, or do you like getting someone to unrack? And that's the advantage of training with either your mates or training at a club, because you can figure these things out. You can figure it out on specific equipment. Like, you know, training here at TSF, you're on the Eleco racks. You can figure out, okay, how do I like this positioning? What is my rack height? And you're also getting the people that are most likely going to unrack for you in competitions to train with you, because they are training at the same club. Next off, we've got Declan, 160 kilo opener, representing Compound Training, a favourite to win today. Jack Dunn currently coaching, I believe Worlds is it this weekend?
Yeah.
Yeah, this weekend. He's coaching at Worlds in Germany. He's got, I think, a couple of lifters competing.
Yep.
Says a lot about this Compound team.
And I think that's, you know, given that Worlds is on the same weekend as Team Champs, it's probably made a difference in terms of some team selection as well. I know, you know, ESS, you know, having, you know, being a train from there at the moment, Hung Fan has been prepping for Worlds, and last year he competed for Team Champs. If he competed Team Champs, let's be real, probably will have won it.
Most likely, yeah.
And that throws a big spanner in the works for competing people. So, you know, it's been interesting to see how some teams have needed to juggle that around in terms of timing, because it's all like timing specific too. You know, some ESS, yeah, again, ESS had to change a lifter. I know Paul will be, you know, happy to recompete for ESS for Team Champs, but Worlds is, you know, a draw card that not many lifters get the opportunity to do.
Yeah. So, and when they have it, they should take it.
Yeah.
You know, it's up to the lifter, obviously, but look, if it was me, I'd probably be going to Worlds.
Yeah.
That changes the teams, especially from last year, where we had a couple of people compete last year, do extremely well, Hung being one of them, and then he's not competing this year specifically because he's gone to Worlds.
Yeah, but it shows the depth also in a team where, like, I think, you know, having, I haven't looked at the projected numbers or anything, but my assumption would be ESS will be another top 3 team.
Yeah.
Always have been. They still will be. So, yeah, I would not be surprised whatsoever if ESS again, they'll be gunning for the win. They'll be gunning for the win. Michael is such an experienced coach in the scene. I think he's one of the best. You got Tony, who's helping out at the moment as well. Experienced lifter, experienced coach. Vinny, same thing as well.
Yeah.
3 very experienced lifters in their own right. 3 very experienced coaches. The talent pool at ESS is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I think they're very blessed to have such an amazing talent pool to be able to pick and choose, because some teams like Groove, for example, there wasn't really many options that you could take. Edwina, who competed last year, couldn't compete again. She's pregnant, of course, but that's what sometimes happens. Some things spanning in the works. You got to adapt to it. You got to try to pick and choose in terms of who makes a team. If you have a team that's deep in terms of the selection, your headaches are a lot less.
Yeah.
If you have a smaller team, less lifters, people might be injured, whatever it may be, it's harder to select a competitive team, and that's what I'm trying, more so just get to my point. It's really just being able to choose the most competitive team.
And that's the thing when it comes to this type of a sport. It's, look, we're not professional athletes. Even though they are going to Worlds, they're great athletes, stuff like that. Everyday life gets in the way at times. And that's where these team selections can be slightly tricky. You have your top 4 athletes and you want them to compete. Some of them might not want to compete. It might be too early. They might want to go to Nationals. Again, Nationals was 4 weeks ago. Some people might have made, some teams might have made different selections because they didn't want their lifter to compete 4 weeks after they competed at one of the biggest comps in Australia. So, these are the selections that these teams make. Should we choose someone like Liam Cuba, who competed 4 weeks ago? Or should we choose someone who hasn't competed in 6 months and they're a lot fresher? But they might be an advantage and a disadvantage there. But in terms of the teams that were selected this year, honestly, I think that there was no one that made a mistake. I think that they made very good selections of the teams. Obviously, some teams just made the best selections they possibly could, but some teams made the best selections they possibly could. Or and that's the thing. It's really, we've put together some formidable teams this year, so I'll be really keen to see how tomorrow goes, because a majority of those teams tomorrow are teams that competed last year. And those teams that competed last year obviously placed really well. Yours truly, SR Strength Collective, placed extremely well to be promoted. Min 120 kilo bench 2. Very
that one.
Very, very clean.
I reckon 127 will be on the cards then.
And that's, so what was his best bench?
135.
135.
So it is under, being a hybrid lifter, but, he's done well. That looked really easy. I think if he hits 127 today, he'd be happy, to be honest. It's the number that's listed. He'll definitely be very happy with 127 if he hits that. We've got Yama, who's now hitting 127. Again, kind of similar. There has been white boys. I think Brian Ong's obviously the coach, the standout lifter there. That could be taking points off other teams as well. Even though his team might not be a team that is projected to be promoted, but if Brian Ong is, he was number 1 last year in a higher weight class than technically what he was. He has a very much chance of getting the 6 points and stealing it off other teams. Teams that want or gunning for that 6 points might not actually get it, even though it doesn't really matter for him.
Exactly, yeah, and that's the thing. Having maybe his team being in all 74s or 83s, even if you have 2 people, it's probably put you at a disadvantage, but you are shooting those other teams down. You're not giving them the maximum amount of points, even though they might beat your team because you've had 2 people in the same weight class. They haven't beat the other team that's maximised their points as well. So it puts those other teams at a disadvantage as well. But again, with someone like Brian, with this new team, he's probably just building up his business, he's just building up his roster of lifters. So this year, he will obviously have the disadvantage of having the same people in the same weight class. But maybe next year, he either goes up a weight class or he gets one of his other lifters, like a Tiff who competed today, stay in the 74s. Then that puts his team at a much more advantage. They're much stronger than they were last year.
Or even, like you said, he might be able to gain some lifters that moved over, build that roster even further.
Exactly.
And it's sometimes that's what some clubs do. It's really from I would say even the business coaching perspective, not that I am, but I would say that if he does a good job today, this weekend, which he does, if his team does well, it might put him on the map for other people to be like, hey, you know what, I want to join this team. It might be someone who's actually very strong and doesn't have a coach, or someone who's got a coach and like, oh, I actually like the way he coaches. Move over. Guess what? Next year, they're a stronger team.
Yeah.
And sometimes could be the big picture there.
And that really puts it more in perspective of what this competition can be about. Where for some people, it's an advantage to win, make some money for themselves, and build up the team themselves. Or it could be building up a team next year because the lifter gets more experience in this type of a competitive standpoint, and it really gives them an advantage overall. Bo, 165 kilo bench. Only a 7.5 kilo jump from his last attempt. For some people might be really big, definitely not for Bo. Smoked that, probably looking at a 170, 170 plus. We'll see how that goes. Representing Process, head coach Alex Hayes, who competed this morning. Now we got Stefan, 165 kilo bench press. This is a 10 kilo jump from his first attempt. Not chipping Bo, but equaling Bo. But it puts him at a little bit of an advantage, seeing as though that his lot number is a bit higher. And what happens when you have a higher lot number and you equal someone's attempt who has a lower lot number is that puts you afterwards. And that could be an advantage to you because, again, with Bo, he benched 157.5. Then Stefan benched before him at 155. But the next attempt, they both have 165, which gives Stefan that little bit longer rest, and it might be that little bit of advantage. That is a clean bench press from Stefan. Again, probably looking at jumping too close to a 170.
Yeah, with the lot numbers and changes, that might throw off rather a few lifters. I use the example of Daniel Kane, who was competing in, that was handling in the first session, and his deadlift second attempt, 235, got pushed back because he was a lower lot number.
Yep.
He got pushed back by 2 or 3 lifters,
Ooh,
and I
wow,
told him, I'm like, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Well, keep it calm.
Again,
and that might rattle coaches or lifters because they might be looking at the board and like, hang on a second, my lifter's going to go.
Yeah,
and they start rushing and stuff. So as a good coach, you got to be on the lookout. You got to see, okay, all right, the lot numbers is going to change. We just chill. Chill.
Situational awareness. And look, make sure as a coach you look out for those things. But sometimes there might be so much going on that you miss it. You see the lifter, they say, they'll constantly fifth in the placement. But then automatically they get shot up to third, and you need to make sure that they're aware that it's fine. It's no worries, as long as you give them enough time to prepare. But if you don't, and you miss that, they're up. As long as you keep yourself calm, the lifter will match your energy. The lifter will match your energy, and they will stay calm. Or if they need a bit of a G-up, give them a bit of a G-up. Charles with a 185 kilo bench press. Now, 180 plus bench is huge. People dream about deadlifting this weight, but to bench it is ridiculous. Representing Process Powerlifting Club, just like Bo, head coach Alex Hayes, who competed this morning in the 83 kilo class. Punching it through and clearing it out. I thought I saw his chest drop down a little bit, potentially placing a little bit lower than he should, but didn't rattle him, cleared it out.
It was an interesting position that I just want to make a note of where Alex was situated in terms of watching Charles bench there. So it was almost on a diagonal as opposed to being next to the side referee where normally coaches would see. So I'm taking he's probably trying to see from a different angle in terms of execution, trying to make that judgment in terms of what weight should go next. Very interesting to see. I think that's pretty cool. Just to see different perspective in terms of someone who's a very experienced coach.
And that's someone that knows their lifter. They understand, hey, this is the position I want to see you from. Steve with a 107.5 kilo, but he just misses out. A bit unfortunate for Steve. Missed out on 7.5 kilos for the bench warmers. But that's someone that knows their client. if you've coached them time and time again at competitions, you learn as a coach what works. Which angle should I see them from? Should I see them from a diagonal, directly side on? Obviously not in front of the head coach, so the head ref, but you need to make sure that you see them from the angle that works for you.
Yeah, and it can also be something like just seeing elbow depth. So for example, with the first attempt, the head referee gives a red light there. Could be like, all right, you know what, I'm going to look from this angle. You know, at the end of the day, the lifter's executing it themselves, so you know, the coach might see it from an angle to see elbow depth, and then you know, if they need to rectify anything, they can.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like, you probably won't be seeing much elbow depth, high elbow depth on close grip lifters or lifters that have a high range of motion versus lifters that have, you know, a wide grip or a low range of motion. Elijah just got a 115 kilo bench press. That is an awesome lift from him. 5 kilos on the tank, representing VA. Moving on, we've got Aston, also representing the bench warmers in the 93 kilo class.
10 kilo jump.
10
And I've been
kilos,
wrong quite
yeah,
a
I
bit
didn't notice
today
that.
in terms of my jumps or my questioning of jumps. So it's gone from 7.5 into a 10 kilo jump
See
here.
how this works.
And
Able to just smidge it out. Wow.
he's made it. So again, I'm wrong.
Unusual positioning for a jump. You know, you won't really see a small jump from first to second and a big jump from second to third.
Yeah.
But maybe it works. Maybe that's what they utilize in their training or in past competitions, and it's worked for them. Usually you would see bigger jumps from first to second, but this time you see more smaller jumps from first to second, bigger jumps from second to third.
Yeah, and he sunk that one as well. He dropped that bar right into his chest. It was looking a bit shaky on the way up, but you know, he made it. It's all that matters.
Now
we've got Min, local
There we go.
lifter, hometown hero.
Couldn't even be any more local if he tried.
Mr. TSF himself.
Probably has to sleep here if he wants to be any more local. Bit of a hybrid athlete himself, like as you've been saying, and
yeah,
look, it can put some people at a disadvantage, as you see. Like, you know, you told me he has done a much bigger bench, but at the same time he's a lighter weight class. So there's the advantage you need to see from there.
Yeah.
Push him out of the hole. Just missing out.
And that's what I was saying. Like, you know, given that he's jumped down a weight class, he's been running, so that's clearly affected his bench, because he's told me himself everything else was fine. Squats look good, his deads have been going really well, but benches regressed heaps. Like 135 kilos to missing 127.5. That's a big loss. That's a big loss in terms of, you know, maybe running is not complementary to powerlifting.
But that's the thing, especially just dropping a weight class in general, there will be a disadvantage to that. Look, unless you stick to that weight class for a full year before moving up, just missing out. But going down a weight class, unless you spend a full year growing into that weight class, you're not going to maximize your total on everything, you know what I mean? Maybe some things increase. When I dropped the weight class, I equaled my squat, then I 10 kilo PB my squat on my second competition in that weight class. But my bench press took a big hit. I missed out on close to 5 to 2.5 kilos on my maximal bench press. I wasn't able to progress because I was smaller size. I shrunk a little bit in my chest size, and that's just the disadvantage you see. However, my total GL points and my total dots went up, and that was what I was looking for. Aided with a 132.5 kilo bench press. This is a 5 kilo jump from the second attempt, and this is the last of the benches for today. So we're going to see some big benches from these guys. Getting that big arch, minimizing that range of motion. Harder, just missing out.
Something's in the water at the moment. There's been third attempt, benches missing. And I think, you know, whilst we said, like in the morning, where a lot of females were missing their third attempts because the 2.5 kilo increments were massive.
Yep.
I think it might be a bit of pressure in terms of the
100%.
males jumping higher, when maybe a 2.5 is actually
Big jump,
what you needed to do. Like, not a big jump for the males, but more so like it's the jump that was needed.
Exactly, yeah.
Again, like it always depends contextual as well. Like if you're, you know, early on with the 180 to 182.5, maybe that wasn't like, you know, difference isn't as much. But if we're talking about these weights, a 2.5 kilo difference is a bit more, I think, more important, especially for these, you know, benches.
And if that makes or breaks, that's it, Dale. Pushing up, pushing up.
The third attempts.
But that's the thing, that 2.5 kilos can be a make or break between 697.5 kilos on your total and 700 kilos. But the thing is, what do you want to do? Do you want to just get a number of 700 kilos, or do you want to maximize the amount on your total? Now, Bo with the 167.5 kilo third attempt.
This is where we're saying 2.5 kilos. So it's
exactly, yeah.
Like in this grand scheme of things, a 2.5 at this weight isn't much of a difference compared to the other gentlemen that were lifting beforehand. So whether or not this is, you know, as efficient, don't know, but it still adds numbers to the board. Missing like those, doing a bigger jump and missing,
getting it adds it to the board.
It's a big loss because, you know, you saw some lifters that were missing 5 kilos, 7.5, 10 kilo jumps.
Yeah.
That makes a big difference in your total. 2.5 here, if Bo missed, for example, 167, he already had 165.
Yeah.
2.5 kilo miss isn't that much.
But if he went for 170, he would miss out on 5 kilos, you know?
Yeah.
So, and look, he probably could have got 172.5, but that's not the goal today. That's not what he's trying to achieve. He's trying to achieve the maximum amount of kilos he can get. Stefan just punching above Bo's bench press, so he's going to go 5 kilos above Bo's bench, 172.5 kilo. Bit of a bench specialist, as you can see. Very, very form heavy, very slow on the way down, very, very big in the chest. We've got 3 more benches until we move on to deadlifts today. Everyone's favorite lift. Let's go, Steph. Getting in that tempo, pausing and pressing through, just getting it. Well done, Steph. Fantastic effort on his bar. Again, representing the Melbourne Union Lifting Club. This is basically their first official team. Again, I coached that team of Melbourne Union lifters about 2 years ago. Next off, at last but not, we've got 2 more benches. Declan, 175 kilo bench press, representing compound training. Tassie team, formidable opponents from Tasmania, absolutely smashing it. 175, 5 kilos. Not a 2.5 kilo jump by him, but a 5 kilo jump. Now 5 kilos can be make or break, But again, Em knows her lifters. She knows how Declan performs, so let's see how he goes.
So PB attempt here, according to JP, MC for today. We've got Billy as head referee.
Oh, clean.
That was easy.
Clean. And again, you might think some people, they look at that and they say, hey, he had 180 today, but why would he need to do that? He might not have as well. It might be that he was just perfect form for him. He was able to move smoothly, but if he added 2.5 kilos on that, he wouldn't move. 190 by Charles, 10 kilos off 200 kilos.
So last attempt, last bench for today. Representing process.
Only 5 kilos. But 5 kilos to him might be small, might be big, we don't know. But 195 kilos is ridiculous.
Stop! Press!
Pressing hard out of it, sticking with it, he gets it. What a fantastic bench press. 190 kilos. Fantastic. That's only 10 kilos off 200 kilos. That is amazing. We've finished up with the bench presses for today. Moving on to deadlifts, we'll take a quick intermission of 10 minutes and then we'll see you at everyone's favorite lift. Currently 25 seconds away from starting our last deads of the day. Now, running through the teams right now, we have the top three. We have Melbourne University Lifting Club at 14 points, Process Powerlifting Club at 13 points, and the Strength Fortress at 12 points. Whoa. Melbourne University on top for right now. I was just chatting to the head coach, Jonah, and the thing is, he's going to try and maximize this as much as possible, maximize the points as much as possible. But to be honest, I think he's achieved his goal today. He's achieved it. He wants to be promoted for next year. He wants to put together a formidable team for next year, get to that the Champions League, whatever you call it. What's the
Premier Bracket?
Premier Bracket.
Champions League.
Wrong sport. But yeah, amazing job by Melbourne Uni. But we'll see how Process and the Strength Fortress get up on these deadlifts.
Yeah, I think early projections, Strength Fortress did pull out a competitive team to be promoted. Obviously, very gutted to have been relegated last year and being, the host of the competition. You want to be, the one that's...
You want to place well.
You want to be in the Premier Bracket, let's be real. And I think like this year, probably, at the Premier Bracket last year, maybe in terms of the field and stuff, it wasn't as strong. Or like, not the field, but like the team wasn't as strong compared to the field. Yeah, whereas here, maybe against, the Challengers Bracket, in terms of fielding lifters, it might have been an advantage to at least be promoted. So,
yeah. Alini with 102.5 kilo deadlift on her opener, representing VA Strength.
Down.
VA Strength currently placed 11th with 2 points.
Next ball load was 137.5. It's a misload on the start. 137.5. No, it's Samantha Sutton, 137.5.
Next up, we've got Brochelle, 135 kilos on the bar.
no, I think it actually should be Samantha.
Samantha, bit of muddle up.
Oh, actually, no, yeah, you're right. It should be, bro.
No, we got Rochelle, 135
Yeah,
kilos. It's
yeah,
all right.
It's a bit of a mix-up there.
Bit of a mix-up, but we
Apologies.
still push through.
I'll blame lifting class for that, but that's all right.
I blame JP.
Easy. Nice work there from bro.
Rochelle coming in there composed, even with the bit of the muddle up, probably gave her a little bit more time to rest, more time to compose herself, more time to get in there, clear that first attempt.
So whilst we have a mini intermission, I want to thank the sponsor for the weekend, City Strength, for sponsoring Team Champs, the Strength Fortress Team Champs 2025. Also want to thank all our volunteers as well for the weekend, our referees. We've got an amazing, this wouldn't happen if, Lift Heavy Media, who's doing the live stream, didn't put this on. Obviously, we've also got Thirds Co doing the photography media as well. But just so many hands. So many hands make a competition work, and so many hands make a competition this big work as well. So, obviously lifters.
As they say, it takes a village to make a powerlifting event. We have Samantha coming in with 137.5 kilos. Easy attempt. And that's what you want for your deadlifts, because the thing with deadlifts is you have a lot of people lifting a lot of heavy weight. They can make big jumps for them. So having a very easy first attempt, now there's no chance of them bombing out. Now there's no chance of them, messing up. They can get in there and just do the best they possibly can. Whether it's make a heavy second attempt, clear out for the third attempt. Right now, as long as you get that easy first, you've guaranteed some numbers on the board right now. And that's the decision that you need to make in the day.
Yeah, that's dependent on the coaches as well. Some coaches, I know, coaches at TSF are very fond of making a super easy first attempt in terms of all lifts, let alone the deadlifts. Some coaches might try to keep it closer to the top end. That's obviously a big risk. If you miss out, you may bomb. You may bomb out, as they say. You might be, not going to make it. So, very much dependent on the coach. I think I like the approach that Strength Fortress coaches that I've seen and worked under. I say that like I've been with a lot of coaches, just been TSF and Delhi, but they would take a very conservative first attempt, because that way you're on the board. And you get the nerves out.
It's the smartest thing to do, because you get an easy attempt, and especially with a lifter, a new lifter, or a lifter that's easily anxious. If they go in there and they've done really well on squats, they've done really well on bench press, then you give them something that's, not unachievable, but something just that's slightly too heavy. They have a higher chance of missing it on a technicality or missing it on strength, depending on what that type of weight is for that lifter.
Yeah, and you got to take into account fatigue as well. Fatigue is a massive factor people might underrate. Obviously weather as well. Having competed last year on a much hotter day, by the end of the day, it was just cooked, and a lot of people were in that boat last year with Team Champs. Hot weather, bar was slipping as well, so chalk,
wet, all the chalk, all the
happens. And making that conservative first is key. Go from second and third is really just dependent on the day, depending on the coaches, depending on the athlete. Just a lot more variables, but you can kind of pick and choose.
Yeah, of course. And that's the thing, fatigue is a huge factor, regardless of what the weather is, because, these guys have just smashed either a squat PB or the heaviest squat they've ever done in their lives, their heaviest bench they've ever done in their lives, and they come in here trying to perform the heaviest deadlift that they're gonna ever perform in their lives. Emily Kano, 170 kilos. Again, locking in for that first attempt. Putting the weight in the bar. Making sure that there's some kilos on the table. Kano representing Avia. Currently, Avia is placed 10th with 9 points. We'll see how Kano puts those points up on the board. Next off, we've got Ash, 84 plus class. Now, she's up against Rochelle. But Ash does have the advantage right now with a higher deadlift and a higher deadlift opener of 175 kilos. Ash's big deadlift. Opening this up. Awesome lift. Awesome lift. 2 more lifters to clear the deadlifts. They just get their first attempts, they're in the clearing, they're safe. All they need to do from there is make the right load selections for them to be able to win or just place of the day. Next up, we've got Nicholas Love, 220 kilos on the bar.
So you can see the ladder there is just adjusting completely just because people are making their their attempts for deadlifts, the first attempts. You'll see it move again, for the second flight as well. So
right now,
whilst it says Paragon first, 21 points, it will change shortly anyway.
Yeah. Because again, they've acquired a total. Because if you don't know powerlifting, the amount that you collect, or the amount of kilos you collect from squats and bench press equals a subtotal, not a full total. Until you achieve a first deadlift attempt, that's when you acquire a total. So that's why you see on the board right now, or on the scoreboard, it will keep swapping and changing. Avia Performance now first place at 21 points because Emily Kano has acquired a total. Now, Liam Hubert, this is his redemption. I'm not going to say why, not just yet, not until he reaches this first deadlift. 285 kilos for an opening attempt at 105 kilos is an awesome deadlift.
0 commentators curse though.
Let's go, Liam. Come on, brother. Representing Compound from Tassie.
So very experienced lifter, Oceania Sub-Junior Champion 2021, Junior Australian Champion 2022, and is he on the board? We're waiting.
Yes!
2 white lights, he's on the board.
It.
So, Mizel surpassed Nationals last week.
M trying to ask what the yellow is
Pitching.
Okay, that's fine, that's all right. Because the thing is, 4 weeks ago, Liam bombed out at Nationals. It was the saddest thing I've ever seen in my life because he achieved such a great subtotal to start off with. He got a mad squat, a mad bench press, but missed out on all 3 of his deadlifts because he tore almost a hole in his thumb. You will notice that actually, originally he would actually be doing hook grip, but because of what happened 4 weeks ago, he swapped to mixed grip. So that was the thing he had to do over the 4 weeks. He had to prepare himself for a good mixed grip. And look, 4 weeks isn't a lot now, but he was able to put it together, and he's got that total on the board. Alini picking up 112.5 now. This is a 10 kilo jump from the last attempt. A little bit sticky off the ground, but was able to hold the position. And the thing with sumo is that it's very, very technical. It's a very technical lift. And a lot of the time what you'll see is very slow off the ground, like it's not even moving. Then as soon as it leaves the ground, bang, you've got it up, you've cleared it out, okay? And that's the patience that a sumo lifter needs to acquire. They need to make sure that they stick with it, and as soon as they leave the ground, as soon as it feels like it's moving, you're sweet, you're done, and you will lock out cleanly from there. Some people might think sumo's cheating, but it's actually a very hard lift to do.
It's very hard.
It's very hard.
Yeah, personal experience. Still haven't matched my conventionals from 5 years ago, so whatever. But yeah, you'll see the difference in terms of sumo and conventional. Sumo, of course, wider stance, I think more, I guess, hip dominant.
Yeah, a bit more hip dominant. Something you'll notice as well is that you can actually get on sumo a much more extended back, a bit more erect back. And what that will do is it will clear out the lockout a lot more. That's why off the ground it's a lot harder, because off the ground you're trying to keep that position. If you lose that position, it's done. You haven't cleared the deadlift. If you keep that position, you go throughout the lift, and you will be able to get a much cleaner lockout. Versus some conventional deadlifters, they might have a bit more of a flexed back. They leave the ground really well, but then they have that sticky point at the lockout.
And with conventional, you can kind of grip and rip it as well.
Yeah, a little bit more, yeah.
So for some lifters, that's a massive advantage where technique, especially for a third attempt as well, technique might not be realistically as in for them, because you just want to get the bar rolling, get the bar going.
150 for Rochelle.
And some lifters like Bro there, she'll do a rolling deadlift. It's allowed, it is legal, and for some lifters they might find that a bit easier as well. You won't see that much, but sometimes, especially for conventional, you won't see a rolling sumo.
I'm not very.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
I don't think I've seen it, but that you probably wouldn't see it.
I've seen a lot, I haven't seen that.
Groove lifting 10th place at 9 points. You've got Shanine representing VA. Oh no, actually bumped it up. Ninth place, 10 points. There we go. VA strength. Shanine from VA strength.
150 here. So taking a bit of time. Ooh. Bit slower there. I don't know about the timing. So just having a look on lifting cast, the timing wasn't going.
Okay, still got the white light.
Still got the white light, so it might have been just an error because as the coaches, or at least with Billy, who's the head coach, head referee today, she'll be able to see the time on lifting cast on her phone. Whereas it might not have sunk up with
the TV.
Sunk up. Yeah. With the TV. And I'm losing my mind here.
That's the thing, as a coach and as a athlete, don't worry about the TV. Worry about what you hear. If the ref says get on the platform, do your lift, get on the platform, do your lift. If they didn't tell you, wait. That's the thing. Always communicate with the refs. Don't worry about the TV. There's always technical difficulties. There's always glitches. There's always delays. So as soon as you focus your time on the referees, then you'll be able to make sure you hold that composure and make sure you communicate well enough with the refs. Next off, you've got Nats with 170 kilos. Now Nat putting compound training in second place with 19 points. Currently Paragon is still first at 21 points. Avia has bumped up to third place with 19 points. But we'll definitely see some changes in the next flight. Hard up. Yeah, nice work.
Oh, super easy.
That's a 15-kilo jump for the first attempt. You see it slow off the ground. Like I said with the sumo, it's really slow off the ground. She needs to make sure she holds her position. As long as she holds her position and sticks with it, she's able to shoot it up as fast as she possibly can. M. Kano, 185. We may be seeing a 200-kilo from M. Kano. We'll have to wait and see. She is very squat dominant. You might see it in her past lifts. Let's go, Em. 185. Another 15-kilo jump. You will notice that a lot of the, even the females now on deadlifts will be making those bigger jumps, maybe 12.5 plus. Able to stick with it, shoot it up. Let's see what Jimmy puts on the board. 3-1 loads.
That was easy.
Awesome lift.
I reckon 200.
Hey, right now, when you're at the point of clearing out those first two deadlifts, you had an easy second. You have
more than 200.
I don't know what you're talking about. Sorry.
Oh man, Elmity Kano.
Yeah, 200 kilos. There it is. Come on. Got a lot more exciting.
Ash now,
187.5. There we go. Good lift by Ash. You'll notice that, like we said with conventionals, fast off the ground, sticky up the top. So that's what you really need to be noticing when you make your selections. No matter how fast they leave off the ground, no matter how good it looks off the ground, worry about the lockout. We have two more lifters of the second deadlifts of the day. 245 by Nick Love, representing Avia Performance. Currently placed third with 19 points. Sticky at the lockout, but getting it out. Now you notice on a lot of the lifters' legs, they'll have some white powder in their legs. Now that's not chalk, that's baby powder.
Talcum powder.
You need that talcum powder because that helps the bar slip up, because a lot of the time with some sticking points, having that little bit of that, gliding, that slipperiness up top, that can really make a difference between a sticky lockout and a clean lockout. First 300 of the day, I believe.
Yeah.
First 300.
So.
Liam Cubitt, 300 kilos for a second attempt. Again, he's already got his first attempt. He's already got a total on the board. All he needs to do is maximize his total by achieving as many lifts from now until the third attempt. Oh, wow. Easy 300. Let's see what the refs say. A little bit of weird movement on top, but we'll see how it goes.
And that
Three
puts
white
him
lights.
at 757.5 kilo total.
That is ridiculous.
Which, if we're looking at current projections, only 2.5 off Tim, 10 kilos off Tyson, and he's still got his third attempts left. So
let's see how it goes.
He might be he's taking 6 points today. He might be able to take 6 points tomorrow. And that screws over Stronghold and Simshred's, maybe potential predictions.
Yeah.
They might have come into today thinking they're going to get the full 6 points. I've seen Tyson and Timothy go head-to-head time and time again. Stoff might have got 6 points on the board.
Yeah.
That might be down to 4 now.
Yeah.
And 4 points is a massive difference for 6 points when there's only 24 points up for grabs. 25 really.
And you might be getting, a couple of lifters, maybe two lifters, like two teams. Last year we had ESS and a couple of us had the same amount of points.
Yeah.
It comes up with
ESS and Deadlifts,
115 for Delaney. Absolutely amazing. Only 2.5 kilos, very small jump.
But it's their first comp.
First comp. Amazing effort.
I'm sure that's all that matters, in terms of making a lift, so well done.
Fantastic effort. Putting some points on the board for VA strength. Currently placed 9th, just above groove lifting. Punch groove lifting down by 1 placement. We have Samantha, 155 kilos. 7.5 kilo jump and shoots it off the ground. Oh, fantastic. Able to keep a much more neutral position on the conventional. Again, a little bit hard off the ground, but able to stick with it, get it up top. 3 white lights. That keeps Ava in 3rd place for 19 points currently. Shanine, only a 5 kilo jump for her deadlifts. Again, VA strength currently at 9 points, 9th place, just above groove lifting. Groove lifting, your team, Fran. Let's see how Shanine goes.
So plenty of time here for Shanine. Really using the full time, 60 seconds for this attempt.
Really utilising all that time. And you really can utilise all that time if that's the time you need to take. Sticking up, locking it out.
I think she'll be called for hitch there. I think she'll be called for hitch.
We'll see how it goes. 3 red lights.
Yeah, I think it was like sometimes you might get away with slight hitching, like it happens quite quickly, but I think that was pretty obvious in terms of just almost like a couple of attempts there using that bar to try and push that bar up. I think, unfortunate there.
Rochelle, 10 kilo jump from her last attempt, 160 kilos on the bar. Now this will potentially push groove lifting up a little bit over VA strength.
Because this will push Bro up to 2nd place if she makes this lift.
So this will put some points on the table. Let's go, Bro. Punch it. Oh, what a clean lift by Rochelle. A perfect comp by Brochelle.
Beautiful work there from Bro. Pushes
3 white lights.
moves up to second place for the A4 plus weight class. Pushes Groove up, more importantly as well. Don't know where, pushes him up. It's all that matters.
Awesome work. Awesome work by group lifting. That's all done for them today. Next up, Nikita. Paragon Strength and Performance. Currently placed first with 21 points.
Great deadlift there from Nikita. She gets the 3 white lights.
So group lifting currently placed 9th on the board, just bumped up from VA strength. 8 points for VA, 10 points for group lifting, but we still have Paragon up top for 21 points, Compound Training for 19, Avia for 19, Melbourne Uni lifting club for 14. Now we still have another flight after this with a bunch of other lifters from the same clubs that are competing right now. So that would definitely make the difference. We have Natalia, 177.5 kilos. Current total 462.5. So that'll put a 470 total on her back. Punches her through, stick, 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 stick. Locking out. What an awesome lift. Like I said, sumo, as long as you stick with it, you can get it up. That's 3 white lights for Natalia. That's putting compounds on the map. We have Ashley now with a 200 kilo deadlift.
She's currently in first place in the A4 plus weight class. She will hold that position as first place as well. So 6 points there for Paragon, which right now pushes them, well, they're up in first place with 21 points. So at this point in time, they will be promoted and win the cash prize for the Challengers bracket as well.
Ash, 200 kilos on the bar. That's 3 white lights. Kano, another 200 kilos, this time in the 84 kilo weight class. And firing up, got the team behind her. Got Jimmy and Vinay. Let's go, Em, come on!
Big corner to be around, Jimbo Vinay. USAPL national champion last year.
Punches off the ground. Stick, Kano, stick. Stick at the lockout. Oh, wow. Redemption for her missed 200. And you got these 3
She's
white
happy.
lights.
3 white lights.
That's it. Fantastic work. Redemption for her missed 200 squat, which again is a feat in itself, but getting 200 kilos for any lift is awesome. Nick Love, 255. Representing Avia, currently placed 3rd with 19 points, equal to Compound Training. Punch it, Nick. That's it. Well done. Again, explained before, if the team has the same amount of points as another team, it will go on by average IPF GL points.
Yeah, mate, you saw it last year. That's what happened with ESS and Apex, who finished, I believe, 2nd and 3rd respectively for the premiers bracket. They were equal on points and then went down to what we were using dots last year. So yeah, IPF points is up on the line. I know it seems like a bit of an error at the moment because Avier's got 80.463
They should be
average
placed second
IPF
right now.
GL. Compound's got 71.736. So I'm sure there, but
Probably make an amendment by tomorrow. We still have another day before they decide on.
that's still adjustments as well, yeah.
Let's go, Liam. 312.5 kilos on the bar. Redemption for the 4 weeks ago.
It's because Declan, who's lifting in the next flight, hasn't updated. So that's the reason why.
Yeah.
The numbers seem off.
Yeah. Liam Cubitt, 312.5 kilos. Come on, Liam. Punch it off the ground. Sticks up the top. Just missing out.
Oh, that was...
Well done, Liam. Well done. Now, the thing is, look, this is weight he's done before. 300 plus is something that he's actually done before at competitions. But the thing is, you know, with the change of grip, it can make a big difference for a lifter. But he's really, really, you know, he's come out of it being able to get that 300 kilos and being able to get some kilos on the board. He's got a total fantastic redemption arc. Now we're on to the last deadlifts of today. Starting on Aston, 93 kilos, representing the bench warmers. Bench warmers, currently placed 11th with 5 points. See Andy Hype Man cleaning up the bar. Now you will see the energy die down slightly. Everything obviously picking up the third attempts of last deadlifts, but first attempts, you need to make sure you go in there with a little bit more composure. You don't really want to go in there with too much aggression. If you go in there with too much aggression, you may mess up. You may, you know, technicality, hitch up or, you know, downward motion, drop it a little bit too early because you're too fired up to listen to the referees. 170 for Aston. Probably a little bit wonky at the lockout. Might get red lighted for this one. Yeah, missed red lights. 3 reds, didn't lock out properly. A little bit of a soft lockout, downward motion. There's a little bit of everything there. That's why you got the 3 red lights. We'll see the decision that coach makes next. Potentially they'll just repeat that, just clear it on the board, make sure he gets it down pat, then he can move on to some cool weights.
I think at least for first attempt deads, you know, given that it moved pretty easily, I'll just go up.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. Put in the back burner. It's been done. Just go, keep going.
Yeah, that's a fair point because, you know, regardless of if you miss it on a technicality, you did the weight, you picked up the weight, or you squatted the weight, or you benched the weight, and that's prepared you for that next one. So you have the ability to go up. Really depends on the lifter though. If you do have a lifter that is quite new, quite green, it might be a poor choice to do that. But if you do have a lifter that is quite experienced, understands what happened in that moment, then you would be able to pick it up a little bit. It does run the risk of potentially bombing out there, but as long as you get that second, you're in the clear. We've got Aiden moving on, 180 kilos, again, representing the bench warmers in the 93 kilo class. Had a good day today, subtotal 295 kilos, cleared out that 180, has a total on the board, picks up some points for the team. Benchwarmers currently placed 11th out of the 11 teams today. 5 points on the board for them.
I mean, they did have 3 lifters in 93 kilo weight class, so, you know, obviously it's kind of just taking points off each other at that point.
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, you see a bunch of friends competing with each other. As long as they're having fun,
Hey.
like, you can always build a team from there as well.
Steve on 185 kilos. Bench form is 93 kilos. Fantastic effort. 3 white lights for Stevo. Fantastic effort there. Energy will start to pick up as you start to see some heavier deadlifts. Even for first attempts, some lifters need some high energy going into there. Need to raise those arousal levels, get a bit more aggressive out of the hole. They practice that in the back. Not only are they practicing some heavy weights or picking up some heavy weights in the back, they're also practicing the amount of energy they need to go or utilize to put into this attempt. 210 kilos by Yama. Wide boys, 93 kilos.
Good lift.
Great
Yama.
lift. 3 white lights. Bench warmers placed up to 4th place, going 15 points. Now that's a good placement for these guys.
There you go, it's just moving around at the moment.
Now that we've got these in the last deadlifts of the day, you'll see those placements move around left, right, and center.
Got Dale up next, representing Elevate, and they'll move up quite a bit as well, having some of their lifters, I guess, lifting now. Bit slower for a first attempt.
But he's got it on the board if he gets these 3 white lights.
Yeah, good lift there. Being coached by David Barros. And assistant coach by Brad, former TSF member.
Currently Groove, isn't he?
Yeah, we don't talk about that. It's okay. Former TSF member.
Former TSF member.
And speaking of TSF, we've got Min Dung up next, 227.5 kilos.
Local legend Min.
Min is a deadlift specialist.
Deadlift specialist?
He's a deadlift specialist. He, I think his best deadlift, I think, was 260 with no ACL, or 1 ACL actually.
Oh, jeez.
So imagine what he can achieve with 2 ACLs now that he's had surgery.
Now, I think you need your ACL to be able to perform normally.
Apparently not.
Apparently not.
Well, good lift there from Min, super easy.
Fantastic.
Wouldn't be surprised if he's 250, 260 ballpark range. Speaking of 250 kilos, Stefan.
250 kilo opener. This is the big opener for a 93 kilo lifter. Currently 382.5 kilos subtotal. Needs to get this up, clear that total on the board. And very, very technical lifter. Hyper fixation on the form. Clearly, yeah, that's perfect by Steph. Fantastic 250. Let's see if he gets that white lights.
So just to confirm, I've got a message from a young Jeffrey Tan, who's actually put together some of the, I guess, calculations, everything, ladder. He's just messaged me. He's just said the team is scored higher if they have more first places than the next team, and so on with second, third, etc. If they have the same number of places and points, then it's based off average good lift points. So the scoring system, whilst it might seem like it's just based off points, but I guess that first place is where it's at. So.
Yeah.
Thanks for the clarification, Jeff. I think we were kind of on that ballpark.
Close to it.
Close to it, but yeah, I guess having the expert here really helps. And
better off we ask someone who knows what they're doing.
Yeah, Bo there, good lift, 252.5 on the board,
Clean lift. Got a couple more lifters for their first deadlift of the day. Again, these are the last deadlifts you'll see today. You're going to see some big numbers. Charles coming out with a 285 kilo opener. With an opener like that, surely you're going to see a 300 plus kilo today.
And this will push process up further as well. They're currently in 3rd place, but with Charles, should he make this lift, this will push them up quite high, because now he's actually on the score.
Now that he's made the lifts,
Yep. So that should be
put total on the board, put a placement on the board for process.
We'll see where this updates to shortly. And now we've got Declan also going for 287.5 kilos. So we might see the ladder
There
change.
we
There we
go.
go. Process is now
Process
going to first
place.
So they've got, right now, as of now, they've got 4 first places, so 6 points each. And also the volunteer point as well.
But right
So
now
25 points.
we've got Declan in the 120s as well as Charles. Declan is opening with a bigger deadlift, so if he does get this, it's most likely going to place compound slightly higher. And he clears it.
That was easy.
Yeah, perfect open up for Declan. So that does jump process Charles down to second place. It'll push Declan up to first, I believe. So far, no change. Paragon still in second, Compound still in third. Declan potentially not getting, there we go. Compound coming up to second place. There it is. Paragon getting pushed down, Process in first. Avia still got that 4th place. Melbourne University Club in that 5th place. Now we got Aston, second attempt. Now, he's probably had a good chat with his coach in the back just about what he needs to do to execute this lift. He did miss out on his first, so all he needs to do is get his second and he's cleared out to put some kilos on the board. Cleared it out there. Let's see what the refs say. 3 white lights, nothing to lose from here. Let's see what they put on the board for a 3rd attempt. Elijah, representing VA strength, 185 kilos. 2nd attempt after completing 172.5 kilos deadlift for his first. Clearing it out, putting some numbers on the board. Currently we have VA strength. They placed 10th place, just above the bench warmers and just under group lifting. Group lifting has 10 points, putting them above VA strength. You're gonna see that scoreboard move around right now. This is where it makes the difference, the deadlifts, because once you hit that first deadlift, you've made a full total. You're going to see a few people go up against each other in the same weight class, trying to chip each other, trying to get past each other to make sure they get their total up on the board. Steve punches it up. Nice clean 200 by Steve-O here. See if he can 3 white lights by Steve. Fantastic. Nice clean effort by Steve. This is where things start to pick up a little bit. We've got 2nd attempts here. Some of these attempts are going to be really, really hard for some of these guys. Depends on the way that they select these things or select their 2nd attempt. If they select it to be heavy and then they're going to chip their 3rd, they're going to need to bring some real big energy coming into their 2nd attempt. Some people, though, they just like to make it a stepping stone leading into the 3rd attempt. And you'll really tell when they come into this lift how much aggression, how much ferocity they come in, how much fire they come into this lift. And it'll really make the difference between their 1st and their 2nd. That was a clean lift by Aiden. Has some kilos on the board. Needs to be careful, doesn't want to let go too early, but he's still got 3 white lights. Because you can be called for dropping too early.
It did look pretty close there.
Yeah.
I think maybe borderline, but yeah, it's still got it done. It's still controlled, I guess, in terms of the placement, which is the key there.
Still cleared it out. Again, top 3, we have Process, we have Compound 2nd, and we have Paragon 3rd. Dale taking a 10 kilo jump from his first attempt, 220 up to 230, representing Elevate Performance, coached by David Barros. Clean up, sticking with it. Fantastic work by Dale. like Fran said before, 220 did look a little bit slow, but he was able to get up to 230 pretty easily. So we're going to see, does he make that 10 kilo jump to 240 or does he make a smaller jump? Yama now 230, 20 kilos. 20 kilo jump from his first attempt. Got some great sumo pullers out here today. A little bit sticky in the lockout, able to hold it. That's fantastic by Yama. 3 white lights, and you'll notice that when the lifter does have a little bit more of a flexed back at the bottom, a little bit more of a rounded back, they'll clear the grounds very, very quickly, but their lockout's got to be a little bit sticky. So it's something that the coach has to notice. They leverage themselves to clear the weight off the ground so easily, then they move to lockout a little bit sticky. Now we've got hometown hero, Min from Strength Fortress, 20 kilo jump. Like Fran said, he is a bit of a deadlift specialist, making a 20 kilo jump from 227.5 to 247.5. Fantastic effort by Min. Oh, clearing that 247. Put some kilos on the bar.
I reckon 260 definitely on the
That would be an
there.
awesome lift to see. Strength Fortress currently plays 6-6 out of 11 teams. 15 points on the board. Top 3 still Process, Compound, and Paragon. Stefan, 20 kilo jump, 270 kilos on the bar. Let's see how this moves. 250, moving like nothing was on the bar. Sticking with it, clear. Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was easy.
Probably looking 285, 290 on the bar. Very, very stoic lifter Stefan is.
I don't know about stoic. I saw him in the back just slapping himself. I think that's the opposite of stoic.
Hey, he's stoic for moments. He's stoic for moments.
Stoic at the end.
Yeah, at the end.
Maybe not beforehand. I think it's like, it's really cool to see how lifters operate, whether or not they respond better to a bit of a G up prior by themselves with their coaches, or just, stoic. Like some lifters, no mania, no hype, just execute. I've seen a lot of lifters like that, actually.
Perfect example, Will Warden. He competed at SR Strength Collective quite a few months ago, and he got a 500 dots, 270 squat. There's Bo. 272.5, like it's nothing on the bar.
Bit sticky for Bo.
But you got someone like Will Warden who comes into there like nothing's happening, clears his mind, and just lifts. But then you got other people going in there with pure aggressive. I think someone who's a great example is Jeremy Borzillo. Jeremy Borzillo wants to go in there, and he looks like he's about ready to run through a wall.
And that's the first attempt.
Yeah,
that's the first attempt. That's not the attempt. That's actually the first attempt.
Yeah. He gets better. Like he does more. That's the thing. So 307.5 kilos for Declan. Again, Declan is up against Charles, and Charles is selected to go 307.5 as well.
Yeah.
But Declan does have a lower lot number than Charles. That's why he has to go first.
So it'll be interesting to see what, if Declan makes this lift, what's the number selected afterwards. Because it looks like Charles at the moment has a 7.5 kilo total increase over Declan. And they'll match it. It'll still be a 7.5 kilo lead. So Declan got to try to go a bit heavier, knowing that he has to put the attempt selection first.
Yes.
But you can actually change your attempt selection twice for deadlifts for your third attempt.
Deadlifts, you are able to change your attempts at third. So that's where a lot of the play comes into, or a lot of the smart coaching of the day, where they wait to see what the lifter does. They either change it last minute or they change it when they see what the lifter does, and that's the advantage of having a high lot number. So someone with a higher lot number puts their lift down, 307.5, the other lifter does 307.5, they miss their lift, they're able to change their lift from there. Charles comes in with a 307.5,
Yeah, and that's where the difference between a good coach and a great coach comes into play in terms of knowing your lot numbers, knowing your attempt selection, trying to fake out the other coach as well.
Oh, wow.
That was easy. So, you know, if we're talking about attempt selections here, I wouldn't be surprised if Compound and Process are playing mind games here in terms of attempt selections. Alex Hayes being a very experienced coach, wouldn't surprise me if he's just trying to match it and they're just going like for like at the moment in terms of, you know, numbers.
322.5 kilos Declan has selected, whether or not that's a lift that he can do, and from the 307.5 potentially, but it could also be just a bit of a trick. Could also be that he's putting in a fake placement, and we just have to wait and see. We don't know because we don't know what this lifter can do. Only the coach knows on the day. Elijah coming in here with 192.5 kilos, with the headphones in, ready to get crazy. Andy giving the bar a wipe, clearing off all that chalk, making sure the bar isn't slippery at all. Last lifts of the day.
Last lifts for the challengers bracket.
Oh, made a bit of a mistake. Oh, not wrong lifter. That wasn't Elijah. Elijah still has 38 seconds. It's fine. See, he keeps his composure, and that's why he's got a great coach. He's able to do it. He's kept that composure. He still has 23 seconds. And as long as he gets that communication from the coach, and he's aware of how much time that he's got, he's probably able to complete this lift at the best he possibly can. Sticking off the ground. Oh, fantastic.
Hasn't rattled him, which is really good to see.
That's fantastic.
Gets the job done there. Should be 3 white lights. It is 3 white lights.
And even though he didn't have the amount of time that he usually has to get prepared, it's still, he was able to go in there, hold composure, and was able to get that lift complete. That's a fantastic day by Elijah.
Yeah, I think it's like you said, you know, it's important that the coaches are paying attention in terms of, you know, who's up next. So you're not just listening to whoever's emceeing, but also looking at the, you know, live scoreboard, looking outside as well, just looking like on the platform. Okay, that's my weight that's been selected. You know, you should be like, all right, ready to go.
Situational awareness. Aston, 202.5.
You've got it, come on!
Punches it through, clears out the weights. Locked out way better than the 170 of his first attempt, but was able to get it up nice and clean. See if he only 1 red, 2 white lights. That's what you want. Nice work by Aston. Now we're getting into some heavy territory for some of these guys. Some of these guys probably never touched this weight before. So they're gonna go in there, they're gonna G up, they're gonna get aggressive, they're gonna create a fire in their belly. Aiden, 215 kilos, 10 kilos from his second attempt. Made a big jump from his first to second, made a small jump from his second and third. Not common for the bench warmers, but assume common for Aiden.
Come on, Aiden!
Let's go, Aiden. Punches it off the ground. Just sticky at the lockout. Gets it up. See what the refs say. There we go, 3 white lights. Currently bench warmers, placed 11th out of the 11th team, but fantastic effort by all the guys. Now on to Steve, also representing bench warmers. 225.
Come on, Steve!
4 plates on the bar. Let's go, Steve. Come on.
Big team, come on!
That's it. Come on. Punches it up and just misses out.
I think it was a bit ambitious, you know, taking a 25-kilo jump from second and third.
Still took the chance while he had it on a big platform.
I went 15 actually. 15 from first to second, and 25 from second to third.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
that's
Big jump.
probably. Yeah, I don't know about that one, but that's all right.
Well, now we're on to Dale, making a 5 kilo jump. Had a bit of stickiness in his deadlifts, but we'll see how he goes in this third attempt. Representing Elevate, David Barros, coach. Let's go. Doesn't waste any time, sticks with it. And that's a stoic lift up.
That's a very good deadlift there from Dale. 3 white lights.
Starting to get heavier and heavier on the deadlifts.
Which coincides with the music getting louder and louder too.
Energy getting higher and higher. Yama, 242.5. Let's go, Yama, come on. 12.5 kilos from a second. Sticking up the top.
Yeah, that looks good.
Nice work.
That looks good.
Tiny bit of a hitch, but again, got away with it. 3 white lights. Getting some energy behind Min next. Hometown hero.
260. 260.
260. Another good call by Fran. Getting some energy on the platform. Come on, man.
Look at that G
That's
from
it.
Josh and
He's got the whole of Maidstone behind him. 260 kilos on the bar. 93 kilo class. Come on, Min.
Let's go, man.
Let's go, brother. Oh, fast. Oh, well done. Fantastic
Smoked
effort.
that one. Absolutely smoked that 260. More in the tank there.
3 white lights, all he needs for today. Getting into the heavier deadlifts.
4 deadlifts.
282.5 by Bo. That's 22.5 kilos from Min's best deadlift of the day. That is a huge jump. Assuming that Stefan's making a bigger jump from here. 282.5, come on, Bo. Clears it out. Oh, just misses out.
I did say 272 didn't look convincing.
Yeah.
And with that miss, I think it does open the door a bit. I don't think much.
But it's still
No, it's not enough. It's not enough. No, it's not enough. But like if we look at the bigger picture here, 7:15. He's up against Jansen tomorrow, and also
definitely not
Jansen. So yeah, it's a big one there.
And that's the thing. If he can get some kilos on the board, he will. Don't play it conservative. Just go. 20 kilos. Come on, Steph. Sticks. Oh, wow. Fantastic.
And look the exact same
That's
as the
it.
second attempt.
3 white lights by Stefan. That puts some points on the board.
That was an awesome
MU.
celebration as well. Letting everyone know 290 just fell.
That is amazing.
We've got Declan now up next, 320 kilos. Second last deadlift of the day. And he's faking it. Charles is faking out right now.
Yeah, there we go. 400 kilos.
Fake.
400 kilos. It is obviously a fake, but how much does he actually have? You still don't know.
Well, it doesn't matter because he's really pushing Charles to go heavier.
Exactly.
And, Declan to go heavier. If Declan makes this, then Charles just needs to...
either match or beat, doesn't matter.
Match.
He can make the change.
Yeah, he can make the change.
As long as it's not under 320, he'll be fine.
Yeah, if the total matches, he's underweight as well compared to Declan. So
Punch it, Declan. Oh, there we go.
there we go.
Sticks it out.
And now I want to see the change. There you go. Alex just made
Alex
the change.
Hayes already making the change. Didn't make any difference answers to what he already wrote down.
So now Declan goes in the lead. The pressure, the last deadlift now goes to Charles,
Which he's making.
320 as well. So the change has been made.
So he's got it on body weight.
But Charles needs to make this. Declan's in the lead by 2.5 kilos. Charles has to make 320. And if he doesn't make 320, he will finish second. He will actually finish second.
And it will place Compound into first place. Currently, as you see, Compound in first place, Process is second,
So
Paragon
this is coming down to the wire right
The
now.
wire.
For the win for today. This is for the
This is for the money. This is for the money.
This is for the money. Show me the money.
Let's go.
So there's a lot on the line.
There is.
Promotion is already secured, so we'll get that out of the
That's
picture.
fine.
Process, Compound, Paragon will be promoted. I think it's three teams.
Yeah. But if he gets this, he gets first place and he makes the money for the team, and that's such an important thing for you to do. He also maximizes the amount of points acquired for the next day, so that helps Compound go up in the overall placement. Let's go, Charles. This is the moment for Charles.
This is the last deadlift for the day.
If he
for the win
acquires
here.
this, it's for the win.
A lot riding on the line here for Charles.
There's so much pressure behind this. I don't care if he's done this for reps. So much pressure. Everyone's behind him. He punches it. Oh, wow. Oh, no.
He needs to put it down. There we go. I waited because he's actually missed his last step 3 out of 4 cuts. The commentator's
Don't say commentator's curse. Doesn't exist.
But he's made it. Process are the winners.
Process are the winners.
Are the winners of the Challengers bracket. Overtaking Compound right the last deadlift there. And we can see our congratulations to Alex Hayes. The update's updating. What a big day. What a big day.
Amazing
The
day.
Challengers bracket. And better yet, more lifting tomorrow.
Yeah.
Premier bracket.
Amazing.
We've got Stronghold, Apex, Melbourne Strength Culture, Sim Strength, SISC, Elemental, Chronicle Crew, and Uplift. Big teams.
Big teams.
Tomorrow.
And they have to compete against this. And these teams were formidable. I don't care if it's called the Challenger brackets. They are challenging. And that's going to make the difference for tomorrow.
Well done to Process, well done to Compound and Paragon, and well done to, huge congratulations to everyone who's, congratulations and thank you to everyone who's made the day possible, all our volunteers, spotters, loaders, referees, tech desk, people in front, entry, City Strength for being our sponsors for this weekend, of course being run by, under APA, IPF this year. Thanks to Lift Heavy Media for running the live stream. Just really everyone, Thirds Code for the media, photos, coaches, athletes, spectators, everyone that's made the day possible.
Fantastic, Evan.
Thank you to you, Chunky Boy Prime.
Thank you,
Chunks, 'cause
Francis.
I'll never remember your first name. I never called
Don't
you
need to
that.
worry about it.
Yeah.
Fantastic effort from everyone. Awesome work. This has really set the precedence for tomorrow, and we cannot wait to see how tomorrow turns out.
It's going to be a big day. This is, Team Champs at Strength Fortress gets bigger and bigger every single year. Bigger teams, more prize money. It's just getting better and better, and tomorrow we'll see that peak as well. I'm not saying that today wasn't great. Today was amazing.
Yeah.
It's been a full-on day.
But we're definitely going to see the high caliber tomorrow, honestly.
Yeah,
It's just,
Who's your predictions for tomorrow?
Oh, geez, Louise. Now, we have got, formidable teams, and again, all of them competed last year, so they do have the advantage of all knowing the scope of everything. But the other thing is that a lot of those teams have changed, so that's what's going to be the difference.
I'm going to throw in, because I have not looked at numbers whatsoever, I'm going to go ESS first place, purely because I trained there and I know the lifters, most of them, if not all. I think they'll be first place. I think Apex just going off their lifters again, very strong team. We're going to go stronghold.
Strongholds. You got some,
Oh, no.
whatever's in the water, it's at Ballarat.
No, throw up the coin, stronghold and uplift. I think we'll be
Yeah, we'll see
third
how it
place
goes.
there.
I will say that Strength Collective are going to take out everything. They're going to get the gold. That's it, gentlemen. Awesome work by the team. Awesome work by the volunteers. And I can't wait for tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll have a bit of a later start. I believe it starts at 11 a.m. So tune in for the live stream then.
Later? I don't know. It'll start 1 p.m.
1 p.m.
That's
later
not,
than
that's
that.
not 11.
That's my bedtime. Sorry.
1 p.m.
Yeah. Sorry.
Session 1, session 2, maybe 4 p.m.
I gotta work. Oh, no. Sorry.
At least you get sleep in.
Yeah, that's fair enough. So, all good by the team, and I can't wait for tomorrow. I'll be on the platform with my team, SR Strength Collective. We've got Laggy, we've got Az, we've got Eddie, and we've got Danny. So we'll see you there.
So thank you very much for everyone tuning in. My name's Francis.
My name's Chunky Boy Prime.
And have a good night, everyone.